Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 681-700. Chapter 0681-Dream World. The first thing to do is the first stage of the individual competition, the competition for stars. Following Myra's words, there was a commotion at the scene. On the stage, there is a special sound transmission magic, so that her words can be clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. Star Chapter Competition. What do you mean? Mira went on to explain. There are a total of 32,899 participants in the Great Demon Fighting Individual Competition. At the beginning of the competition, everyone will receive a star, and if they want to advance to the second round, 10 stars are needed, so in the first stage of the individual competition, at most 3,289 people can pass. Quote. This is a direct elimination of 9 out of 10. Countless people are awe-inspiring. Although they know that the Great Demon Fighting Martial Arts competition is bound to be cruel, it is really shocking that 90% of the people will be eliminated in the first round. To hear Mira continued, in the first stage of the individual competition, the time limit is 6 hours. When the sun rises from the east on the second day, the contestants who have not collected 10 stars will be eliminated. 6 hours. Everyone was shocked again. That is to say, if you want to pass, you need to snatch 9 stars from others within 6 hours. What about the specific way of playing? A melee, someone asked loudly. But there are also people who want to retreat. If it is a big melee, there will inevitably be casualties. The melee of more than 30,000 wizards, 803. If this powerful guy is insane, he can directly use a super magic to kill him. Countless people. As to this point, rest assured. Mira Vivi Isho said, the venue of the game, not here, is the dream world. As soon as her voice fell, the venue where everyone stood below the stage suddenly lit up with red light. Magic array. Someone was startled, looked down, and his complexion changed slightly. I saw a huge magic circle that enveloped everyone. It was a constant magic circle engraved on the ground. At the moment when the red light lit up, everyone felt a deep sleep, and their eyelids were extremely heavy. Immediately, more than half of the wizards fell to the ground and fell into sleep. This is. Someone struggled to resist the sleep magic. Don't resist, the magic circle will make you fall asleep, and then you will wake up in the dream world. Mira said loudly, and this magic circle will also guarantee your safety, so you can rest assured. Sleeping in such a place, who can rest assured? Despite this thought, many people could no longer resist this powerful magic, and soon fell down. In just a short while, only 200 or 300 people were still struggling to support it. Among these people, Mila saw many familiar faces. Urza, Gildas, Joseph Zala, and even Jula Regis of the Holy Ten were all present. Not only that, but there are many people who hide their faces, either in masks or in capes. In the same way, each of them exudes a powerful magical aura, and they are at least S-rank mages. In other words, there were at least 200 or 300 S-rank or above mages on the scene. I don't know if I don't see it. I was shocked when I saw it. There are so many S-classes in the whole continent. No, that's not all, because the preparation time was very short, and there were a lot of mages who didn't come. As far as the entire Ishgar continent is concerned, the Kingdom of Fury is really just a small country. Mira thought to herself, and then said to the remaining wizards who were still awake, don't resist, everyone, the first stage of the competition is held in the dream world. If you don't enter the dream world, it is equivalent to giving up voluntarily. If you give up the competition, please leave the magic circle. Hearing this, many people immediately sat down, took the initiative to accept sleep magic, and just sat there and fell asleep. Irene is also one of them. However, she did not fall asleep directly, but drew a magic circle under her body to form a small barrier to protect her body. At the same time, the destruction of the barrier would force her to wake up from sleep. Come. After doing this, she then looked at the few companions behind her. You are free, I'll try it first. As she said that, she closed her eyes, and soon, sleepiness struck, and in the blink of an eye, her consciousness fell into a deep sleep state. Seeing this, several people behind him who were wearing black cloaks and covering their faces looked at each other. "Let's start too. Of course, it's better to leave the guard alone." "It's not necessary. I know that the magic circle under my feet is sleep magic. The magic circle is only amplifying effect. It can hypnotize more than 30,000 people at one time. This woman named Mira has strong magic power." Dream world. When Urza opened her eyes, what she saw was an endless prairie. Within sight, many people appeared one after another. "The number of people has decreased," Urza murmured softly, and she quickly discovered the anomaly. "There are at most 700 or 800 people gathered here, that is to say, everyone has been assigned to different scenes. This is what magic is so powerful. If there are anime fans of the Earth here, they will exclaim loudly. Isn't this a scene from Full-Time Hunter? At the same time, in another place. It was an endless expanse of ocean, with thunderstorms, lightning and thunder. Above the sea, there are hundreds of warships floating. On the deck of one of the battleships, Irene opened her eyes. Amazing, she couldn't help but exclaimed. This is the dream world. It's so real. The first time I saw this kind of magic, it is indeed a mysterious dream. This is one of the naval battle scenes in One Piece, King of Pirates. All the people who entered the dream world were divided into 32 different scenes, and the number of people in each scene was small, ranging from 700 to 800 to as many as 1005. The scene where Kildith wakes up is a dim desert with a huge full moon in the sky. This is the virtual circle scene of the Grim Reaper. In front of him, dozens of monsters wrapped in bone masks are roaring. Hey, the dream world broke into the monster. This kind of thing was not explained in advance. He couldn't help but complain, and then he saw a red mark on his wrist and a star on his chest. As long as 10 stars can be advanced. However, the difficulty of this competition is not here. The difficulty is how to persist for 6 hours. The moment he saw the existence of the monster, he realized that the enemy was not only the rest of the contestants, but also the monsters in the dream world. If the number of monsters is huge and their combat power is amazing, then these contestants will have to form a group. And among the contestants themselves, there is a competitive relationship. It can be said that this first round of competition is far from being as simple as it seems on the surface. Just thinking about it, in the sky above the 32 game scenes, at the same time, a huge human face appeared. The wind and clouds gathered, and the face opened. All contestants, I am the Master of Dreams, welcome to my world. Chapter 0682, Happy, Magic _ The last chapter is the second update, it is wrong. Close black lens bracket. All contestants, I am the Master of Dreams, welcome to my world. Above the sky, a huge human face emerged, with a long, distant voice. This is a dream world built by the great demon King of Fear, using the dreams of more than 30,000 people. Here, he is a god, omnipotent, and constructing 32 virtual scenes is easy. At this moment, the contestants scattered in 32 scenes raised their heads and stared at the sky. Now, please observe the back of your left hand and your left chest. The great demon King of Terror continued. The red mark on the back of your hand records the remaining number of people in your scene, and there is a star on your chest. Urza raised her left hand as she said, and a set of numbers appeared in the red mark on the back of her hand. 799. In the dream world, there are 3 rules that must be followed. First, the star seal is not allowed to buy, sell, gift, discard, etc. Second, the obtained star must be hung on the chest and must not be hidden. Third, suicide is not allowed. Hearing this, many of the more than 30,000 people immediately changed their expressions. The first 2 are easy to understand and prevent cheating, and the third does not allow suicide, which is a bit interesting. The moment she heard this, Urza pinched her face. The pain is very real, and I can feel the magic in my body change clothes. With a flash of white light, her armor changed. Sure enough, magic can also be used. At this time, the great demon Lord of Fear let out a chuckle. Now, you should have tried it too. Yes, in this dream world, magic can be used. Even if you kill people, it doesn't matter, the dream world dies. In reality, you won't have it. Any problem. So everyone can fight as much as they want without showing mercy. Quote. Hearing this, many people's eyes lit up. It is very good that no one will die. Everyone can put their hearts aside and use powerful magic at will. It's really interesting. In the prairie scene, a man in a black cloak suddenly laughed. Such a real dream. Pain, vision, taste, hearing, touch, and even magic perception, is no different from the real world. This, dream, Lord, is he an abyss-level great wizard? He took off his cloak, revealing a youthful face. Behind him, there is also a cross. This figure is like a Buddhist believer. With his palms clasped together, he looks nondescript. On his side, another man in a cloak also lifted his hood. Fortunately, we were assigned the same scene. That is the god of Serena. Even a deceased person like me can really exist, and there is something wrong with this dream. It is not a simple dream. Quote. Serena grinned Isho, and danced into a narcissistic gesture. Serena, god of the 8 dragons, I'm back. Oh. He said that. He glanced across the prairie and said, Lakid, in short, let's join forces first and wipe out all the 799 people in the scene. I wonder if there are hundreds of star badges. Can I get a reward? No, than this, I'm more curious about whether the Lord of Dreams is an abyss. The man called Rakade raised his head, looked at the huge face in the sky, and said, Ishgar, when did the abyss go away? Saying that, he swiped his fingers. Suddenly, a dazzling beam of light rose into the sky. Feel the joy, Lord of Dreams. Whoosh. The white light shot into the sky and hit the face of the sky in an instant. Seeing this, the great demon king of fear turned his gaze and locked his gaze on the 2 people below. As long as you feel physical happiness, you will become unable to extricate yourself and lose your combat effectiveness. Rakid smiled. Come on, experience the magic of happiness. The light suddenly hit the face of the sky. The great demon king of fear has a wonderful feeling. Fortunately, he is not in human form now, and the condensed human face is just a will, otherwise he will really be tricked. Desire magic. He snorted coldly. This magic is really good. However, provoking the Lord of Dreams is really courting death. Immediately, his mind moved. Immediately, the thunder rolled, and a large hand of black cloud slapped it directly. Boom. The prairie shook, and the black cloud's big hand seemed to slap dead flies, slamming Lakide and Serena into the ground abruptly. Warn me once, provoke me again, don't even think about waking up, sink into a dream forever. After speaking, the face of the great demon king of fear gradually dissipated. Now, I announce that the first round of the individual competition officially begins. Along with this sentence, within 32 scenes, all the contestants started to act. Compared with robbing the star badge, the first thing to do is to hide his tracks. After all, no matter how strong a person is he stronger than a group? The magic power is limited. Even if you grab 10 stars at the beginning, you will have to survive for 6 hours. Cough cough. In the prairie scene, Serena's mouth was full of blood, and he climbed up from the huge palm print. What are you doing? He said angrily. It's nothing to provoke that face, so I'm also taught a lesson. Rakt rubbed his head and got up. My head hurts. It's really ruthless, and I was almost killed. Cough, cough, cough. They wanted to resist the slap just now, but at that moment, they lost all their strength and were directly beaten to death. However, the harvest is still there. Rakt smiled again. The so-called Lord of Dreams, who is also human, also has desires. At least the magic of happiness has worked for him. What if it's a human? Serena snorted softly. If you can build this kind of real dream, you must be an abyss-level great wizard. I won't play with you anymore. I'll collect star badges, as long as I win the championship, I can get the magic of the abyss, and at that time, I can also hope to achieve the abyss. Watching his companions leave, Rakt couldn't help shaking his head. I really don't understand anything. Since it is a human being and has desires, there is a possibility of negotiation, but let's get through the first round first. Meanwhile, the real world. On the stage, Mira stared at the scene below. In the huge magic circle, more than 30,000 people fell into a deep sleep, and with the outbreak of the battle in the dream world, these sleeping wizards also continued to emit magic power. The magic power was absorbed and collected by the underground magic circle, and finally merged into the sun. Eclipse Gate. It's finally starting. At this time, Uchiha Itachi's figure suddenly appeared. It's not a waste of time for me to build a huge dream. After all worries are removed, the dark side of human nature will be exposed. As he was talking, suddenly, he felt a pleasure in his lower abdomen. Rao is that Chinyang has already made the ancient well without waves, and he can't help but blush. Mr. Itachi. Mira looked suspiciously. She seems to see grim Itachi blushing. Delusion. Desire magic. Uchiha Itachi quickly calmed down. Nice magic, find some time to learn it. Force people to feel physically happy a bit, meaning. Chapter 0683_all are 4 emperors. Rakade, one of the 12 shields, whose full name is Rocket Dragon Neil, is the son of the legendary Black Mage and Zelf. The magic that this person is good at is Yuwang magic, one of which is happiness. Using magic power to create a dazzling light beam, those who are hit and illuminated by the beam will become more unable to extricate themselves and lose their ability to fight as long as they experience physical happiness. When happiness reaches its peak, it will drain the opponent's soul. So-called physical happiness means literally, generally speaking, virgins and virgins will not be recruited. But this magic, with advanced ability, can create tentacles and force people to fall into Yuwang. As long as they are not pure-hearted and few desires, comparable to saints, they will definitely be recruited. In the past, Chinyang, when he was out of control, couldn't help but be reminded of Yuwang's thoughts. Fortunately, his willpower is strong, and it can be wiped out in an instant. Is interested in this magic thing? Let's talk about this later. The main purpose of the first round is to let the people in the dream world fight each other and give them a little fire. Prairie scene. Urza kills a wizard 09 with one sword. The body of the killed person emitted a white light, and then shattered like glass. The appearance of death is really unrealistic. Is it deliberately set like this? Urza whispered to herself, took a few steps forward, and picked up the star badge dropped by the other party. It's the 6th, and if you get 3 more stars, you can advance to the second round. She nodded with satisfaction and hung the newly acquired star badge on the Shang mouth. However, it is not difficult to collect star badges, but it is troublesome to persist for 6 hours. I always feel that the organizer will not make people qualified so easily. She had this hunch, and judging from the signs in the dream world, it was almost a sure thing. Thinking of this, she raised her hand and looked at the mark. 504. The moment she saw this number, Elsa couldn't help being shocked. In less than half an hour, nearly 300 people have been eliminated. 10 people per minute, which is not normal. Obviously, there are experts who are clearing the field. After getting 10 stars, they have not stopped hunting. Elsa's heart froze, and she was secretly annoyed. This kind of guy will cause public outrage. Maybe it will force other people to join forces. Just thinking about it, she suddenly turned around. I saw 3 or 5 men approaching him. This is a prairie scene. The grass and trees under our feet are half the height of a person. If you intentionally hide it, it will be difficult to find others. Don't do it, we have no ill will. Yes, we're just here to talk to you. Put the sword down first, how about that? 2 of them hurriedly said, Are you Urza, an S-rank wizard of fairy tale? Who are you? Urza said cautiously. She looked at the mouths of several people, which were very neat, each with 3 stars. Don't be so nervous. The leader smiled bitterly. You should have found out, right? There are several powerful magicians who are constantly cleaning up the contestants. According to the information, more than half of the 300 people who have been eliminated now are done by that person. Moreover, the other party will continue to do it. We are looking for you to invite you to join the Confrontation Alliance. A person's strength is not that person's opponent, so naturally they form a group. Urza had expected this, so she was not surprised. It has nothing to do with me. She shook her head and turned to leave. Of course, at the moment of turning around, she maintained a high degree of alertness. As long as the other party made a change, she would immediately take action. Hey, Fairy Queen, you have heard of your name in our country. I know you are very strong, but you are definitely not that person's opponent. If you are single, you will be targeted. The leader shouted. Our team already has 15 people, and each of them has its own fighting strength. Our main purpose is to protect ourselves from being eliminated and not to do superfluous things. Don't you think about it? Urza didn't respond and walked away gradually. Seeing this, one of them hinted with his eyes. But the leader shook his head and said in a low voice, Forget it, there's no need to mess with her. You'll know when she suffers a little. That's the number 1 Holy 10, God Serena. At the same time, on the north side of the prairie, in a depression, Serena, the god of the sky, held a pair of star badges and said with a smile. They got more than 160 stars. Lacade, you say, is the organizer going to give me an award? His shang is full, even the back, it looks quite gorgeous, so that there are hundreds of extra pieces that have to be held. Discarding and gifting are not allowed, and I don't think destroying it will work. Like a monk, Rakid sat on the ground and said silently, If you do this, it will only add trouble. Besides, the Lord of Dreams may not like this. Really? Why? Serena doesn't know why. The next moment, the two looked at the sky together, and saw a group of black dots coming in groups. Is that a swarm? Lacade narrowed his eyes. Sure enough, here comes the trouble. The swarms are densely packed, covering half of the sky, and the number of them is probably hundreds of thousands. After flying close, Serena's face changed slightly. What a big bug! How many meters? Is it the size of a tiger? Hell, why is there such a thing in a dream? You caused it. Rakt said in a positive tone. Stormy sea scene. In front of the hundreds of fleets, a larger fleet is attacking mightily. Irene's eyes narrowed, and she instantly penetrated the distance of several nautical miles, and saw the orderly fleet. Then 600 are they warships? She murmured in surprise. Why do you want to set up such a thing? What do you want to do? With such a whisper, she suddenly caught a glimpse of a command ship. On the deck of the command ship with a displacement of 7,000 or 8,000 tons, a burly old man grinned Isho. Garp Vice Admiral, those people will use strange abilities, it seems that they are all capable people. A colonel solemnly reported, the front troops have been sunk. That's Sky 377 Descendant, not using Devil Fruit ability. Garp walked to the shelf next to him, grabbed the chain with one hand, and then lifted a cannonball that was several dozen meters away. No, it was no longer accurate to say that it was a cannonball. I'll try them, by the way, you go and inform Kizaru and Akainu to double-team them from the side. Between the words, Garp shouted, hockey wrapped around his body, and the right arm of the big iron ball was dyed a layer of jet black. The next moment, he struggled. Boom! The big iron ball broke through the atmosphere, quickly climbed the height, and quickly moved towards the extreme distance in a parabolic trajectory. And the direction in which the big iron ball fell was where Irene was. Chasing me. Irene was stunned. No, it's a coincidence. However, with such strong arm strength, is this really human? Isn't it a giant dragon in human skin? She was amazed again and again. This monster-like power simply subverted her worldview. However, when she thought that this was a dream world, she safely accepted the setting. Additional magic blast. The magic wand in Irene's hand was a little bit, and the magic power poured out, a big iron ball wants to deal with me, and I look down on me too much. At the same time, above the sky, the will of the great demon king of fear is paying attention here. Seeing Aaron and Marine fighting, he immediately laughed. This is not an ordinary Marine. In the dream, I gave them generously. There are several famous people, all of them are 4 emperors. What are you going to do? Miss Irene. Chapter 0684, The Wise Dragon, Bersalian. Third shift tilde Jeff's son is Rakade, whose surname is Dragon Neil, the same as Jeff and Natsu. Close black lens bracket. 32 dream scenes. In each scene, there are some powerful wizards. This is what Qin Yang deliberately did. According to the general combat power, he disrupted everyone and assigned them to different scenes, so as to prevent these masters from fighting each other and causing some people to be eliminated. After all, this is only the first round, and these people will need to contribute magic power in the future. At the same time, in each scene, the combat power of the hostile target is set according to the overall strength of the contestants. For example, in the scene of Pirate World, because of the existence of the pseudo-abyss of Irene, Qin Yang strengthened Marine and officially opened it. The purpose of this, of course, is to squeeze the contestants, so that they will continue to use magic and be in high-intensity combat, and because of this, the body in reality will continue to emit magic power, and then be collected. At this moment, facing the huge iron ball thrown by Garp, Irene's wand added a lot of heat to it. The heat caused the iron ball to burn red, like a blood-red sun, and exploded suddenly in midair. Boom! The iron ball shattered, roared, and then turned into fragments of the sky, pouring toward the sea. Immediately, except for the big ship where Irene was, many people on the decks of the other ships had ugly faces. Damn, there are enemies in the dream. I think, how about we join forces to deal with the enemy first, and then solve the problem of the stars? I agree, now in this situation, these enemies at sea are more dangerous. There are many responders, but none of those who are really ready to do it seem to be waiting for others to act first. They were probably aware of this, looked at each other and laughed awkwardly. It's just 9 out of 10. Everyone should put down their guard and cooperate first. If you don't cooperate, I think we will all be buried in the sea. This time, no one responded. What to cooperate with? The other party seems to be the army. Use firearms, break through the encirclement yourself. At this time, someone shouted and took the first step. But the direction of this person's breakthrough was not the front, but the flanks. This man is the water mage. After shouting loudly, he jumped into the sea, like a fish, and quickly left the battlefield. Bye, I'll go first, ha ha ha. A loud laughter came, just like the enemies of the dream world, slowly consume your magic power. Che ran away. Someone said angrily, this kind of sea scene is too convenient for water mages. The man was triumphant, and felt that his judgment was very clear. As he quickly moved away from the many ships, he thought to himself, the limited time is 6 hours, as long as the battlefield is about to end, it is enough. In the dream, the magic power is limited, and now I save the power, for later. Suddenly, his complexion changed greatly, and he only felt a chill passing through the seawater. I saw the flanking sea area ahead, a warship was slowly emerging from the storm. Kuzan jackpot, Garp Vice Admiral let's seal off the flanks so they don't escape. I see, it's a hassle. Kuzan scratched his head, with a lazy expression on his face, his eyes turned to the sea ahead, and suddenly he stretched out his hand. Ice Age. The extreme cold air overflowed, and in an instant, a ray of ice hit the sea surface, and the next moment, the entire sea surface was rapidly frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye. Almost within a second, this sea area suddenly fell into a freeze frame. The small waves that were raised suddenly stopped and turned into ice. The constantly undulating sea surface completely lost its fluctuations at this moment. No, it's impossible. In the distance, on the big ship, someone muttered, this sea area was frozen in an instant, who is this guy? A character in a dream is so terrifying. Under the sea, the water sorcerer, who was ready to slip away, was now sealed in the ice. What a powerful ability! Irene showed a solemn expression. It's not magic. That person naturally possesses the power of ice. Know that guy's body is made of elements. Thinking of this, she suddenly became interested. Could it be elemental life? Impossible. I didn't feel the breath of magic power. Just in time, I will try my grown-up power. Roar. A dragon roar sounded, and the torrential rain in the sky suddenly stopped. Irene's body exuded a holy brilliance. Her body grew rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, she turned into a giant dragon. The dragon has crystal clear and holy dragon scales, a pair of wings spread out, and soars in the sky. Hovering above the sky. Dragon. Kuzan was stunned. Dragon. Compared with his calmness, there was a huge commotion on the contestants' side. It turned out to be a dragon. Why did the dragon appear? Someone turned into a giant dragon. I saw the white light on the previous ship suddenly. Is it a contestant too? Countless people were shocked. Irene said loudly, "Are you an army? I'm curious about your abilities. Even the dream world has a certain way of running. Can you show me? How can you even talk?" Kuzan was startled and looked at the giant dragon in the sky in disbelief. Zone ancient species, or zone mythical? What ancient species, mythical? It seems to be the secret of your abilities. Then tell me. Irene opened the dragon and roared out violently. Roar of the Holy Dragon. Holy Dragon Versarian, the power of the Holy Dragon gathered in his mouth and sprayed out fiercely. Like most dragon breaths, Irene's roar was also shot out in the form of a shock. I saw a piece of holy light falling down, hitting Kuzan directly. Ice wall. Kuzan's eyes narrowed, and he immediately raised his hand. Immediately, above the frozen sea, a tall ice city wall suddenly rose up. 6. It was another whisper, and then, behind the ice wall, 5 more walls were raised. The 6 city walls overlapped to counter the dragon's roar. Boom. The roar resounded, and the 6 city walls shattered in an instant, but Irene's roar was also blocked. Sure enough, it's not magic. Irene spit out, just now, your body became an ice element itself. You can make your body elemental, and use this to control the Yuan EH. Suddenly, her words stopped. I saw a golden light projected from the sky. The light pierced through the storm and descended on Irene's head. The next moment, the photons converged and turned into a figure. You leisurely analyze our abilities. What are you? Kizaru hung upside down and kicked, light speed kick. Boom. Irene's head was hit hard, and her entire body was kicked directly into the sea. With a roar, the ice surface shattered, and Irene fell into the deep sea. Don't look down on Marine Admiral, the one who descended. Chapter 0685-The Fallen and the Dream Life. The first update tilde there is a mistake in the front. Gerald's real son is the old magician king of 12 shields. I carefully read the comics and confirmed that this is true. Close black lens bracket. Stop looking down on Marine Admiral, the one who descended. Kizaru's body was elementalized and lingered in midair. In Qinyang's setting for them, they are the Marines who guard the world, and these people in front of them are the descendants of the sky. As for why Marine had to deal with the fallen, Kizaru didn't know. Anyway, that's how the Dream Lord set it up. As dream creatures, they would only follow the Dream Lord's settings. Far away, the center of the Marine fleet. The command ship, Marshal Sengoku looked heavy, stared at the giant dragon that was knocked down to the bottom of the sea, and said, "Don't be careless. That dragon is very different from the dragon we know." Garp. Saying that, he looked towards the bow. There, Garp was throwing artillery shells with his bare hands. His arm strength was amazing, his wrist strength was terrifying, and the solid shells of the artillery were thrown out of his hands, flying over the sea from a low altitude, and hitting the sky descenders several miles away. Fleet. Enough, how many shells can you throw alone? Sengoku's face darkened, and he couldn't help but say, "We're not here to play. Hurry up and lead the fleet to approach." After entering the range, what should I do? I don't need to tell you. Ha ha ha, I know, these guys are very interesting, each of them will use different abilities, fire, water, ice, wind, thunder, there are too many. Garp threw another cannonball, and finally sank a ship. After doing this, he clapped his hands, took out the phone bug, and instructed, going the whole fleet, put the target within the range of fire. Marine's naval guns have a range of at most 1,000 meters, which is a little more than half a nautical mile. Now that the two sides are separated by several nautical miles, if they want to fire their guns, they have nothing to do but make a splash. At this moment, under Garp's order, dozens of warships led by them immediately turned into sharp blades and advanced towards the contestants. In the rear, the second and third batches of warships were even larger. There were 500 or 600 warships, crushing them from the front towards the contestants. Seeing this scene, many contestants felt a chill in their hearts. Hey, it's time for us to cooperate. If we don't fight back, we will all be sunk. That's more than 600 warships, and one warship is less than a dozen or 20 naval guns. Do you want to die when 7,000 or 8,000 shells hit you? Quote. 7,000 or 8,000 artillery shells flew in, and it was a rain of bullets. Even if the accuracy of the hit was poor, it could destroy the team of the contestants. At this point, many contestants had to agree to join forces. I see, now the sea is frozen and our ship is fixed. In short, Mage of Fire, melt the ice first. See. Sorcerers of the Wind, prepare to assemble, use magic, block the sky and don't let the cannonballs come in. Those who use lightning magic, it's stormy weather, isn't it right for you? Hurry up and get rid of some warships. In the face of a life and death crisis, most people put the issue of the star to one side and prioritize dealing with the situation at hand. I have to say that the mages are serious here. There are more than 600 warships in the area, and it is extremely difficult to break through. The magic of wind forms a wall of wind in the sky, the magic of fire burns the sea surface and melts the ice, and the magic of thunder provokes the sky to attack the warship. Marine and the contestants finally started a head-on collision. However, it was clear that the mage's counterattack was stronger, and Marine's warship was constantly struck by thunder and sank to the bottom of the sea. In just 10 minutes, more than 100 warships were sunk. At this time, Marine Admiral finally made his move, but the contestants also had powerful wizards, and the two sides fell into a delicate stalemate. Although it is not the same as expected, it is barely acceptable. Above the sky, the will of the great demon king of fear continued to pay attention to this place. I thought that the contestants would be defeated, and then they would have their own battles with Marine. Although it was different from what was expected, the result was the same. In short, the two sides fell into a stalemate. Respective masters also began to fight with each other. Although Qin Yang opened an official plugin, Marine Admiral has the combat power of the 4 emperors, but the number of mages is large, and they are under siege. If they want to win the opponent, it is also special. Not easy. Let's do this for now, as long as it continues, it can provide magic power. Meanwhile, another scene. In the virtual circle scene of the world of death, in the endless white desert, dozens of virtual heads attacked Gildas, but they were punched by the opponent. However, without waiting for Gildas to relax, more virtual groups have arrived, and the number has expanded from the previous dozens to several thousand. Even among them, there are many dark figures comparable to high-rise buildings. Why so many? Rao is Gildas, who considers himself to be strong, and can't help but feel his scalp tingling. This kind of monster, the individual strength is not very good, but with this amount, even if I can kill it, the magic power will be consumed seriously. Thinking of this, Gildas turned and ran. By the way, why was I the only one from the beginning? As he ran, he looked at the mark on the back of his left hand. 360. From the beginning, more than 1,500 people have shrunk by 360, and this downward trend has not stopped. The speed of elimination is too fast. There is only one possibility. A large number of people gathered together and were killed in one breath. The problem is even bigger. Why is I the only one left? Gildas was stunned inwardly, and he couldn't help but look back when he was running. However, they saw dozens of black voices and shadows that were as tall as buildings, opening their mouths one by one, and the blood-red energy in them gathered, and finally shot dozens of red lights in one breath. Virtual flash. Boom boom boom. With successive explosions, Gildas dodged the first shot, but was unable to withstand such a number of attacks. In the roar, the dust filled the sky. At this moment, half an hour has passed since the start of the first stage of the individual competition. All the scenes have already begun to be in chaos. The battle between the contestants, the battle between the dream creatures and the contestants, the battle formation, is going on all the time. Saint Seiya, scene, 7 Deadly Sins, scene, Fullmetal Alchemist, scene, Devil Daddy, scene. One by one famous virtual scenes, wars continue, and the number of eliminations is also rapidly increasing. Real world. In the huge magic circle, at least half of the people have woken up, and they are all people who quit the dream world after death. After these people woke up, they followed Myra's instructions and left the magic circle. As for those who are still immersed in the dream world, they have not been able to find that with their encounters in the dream world, the fluctuations of magic power are also reflected on the real body. A portion of the magic power, strong or weak, is being absorbed by the magic circle under his feet. The other end of the magic circle link is the door of the solar eclipse. The war has begun. Mira murmured softly, "Wait until the weak wizards are eliminated, and then the real outbreak will come." Chapter 0686 cream of the crop. 1:30 midnight, Half since the Great Demon Fighting and Martial Arts individual tournament started, and there are still more than 32,000 contestants in the dream world at the beginning, and the current number has dropped sharply to 7,000, 8,000, and 1,000. It can be said that 3/4 of the people have been eliminated. These knockouts are either killed by the rest of the contestants, or killed by dream creatures, all kinds of situations. After the dream world dies, the body in reality will wake up, and everyone who wakes up feels like a nightmare, with great mental exhaustion, and looks very sluggish. It's scary. Guess what I met in the dream world? Someone who was familiar with them complained. A giant dragon, smashing a city with one breath. About 200 or 300 people in our group were all killed in one breath, and there are not 1 out of 10 who survived. Hearing the words of the companion, the listener also smiled bitterly. In my dream world, there are people wearing strange robes. These people step on flying swords, wave their fingers, and read a few words in their mouths. 9 Heaven's profound temple, transform into for the divine thunder. Wang Wang Tianwei, led it with the sword. And then the divine thunder came down. A small team we made up temporarily, desperately resisted, but couldn't beat the weakest one in the dream. Similar conversations keep happening. These eliminated players left the magic circle and gathered together in 2s and 3s to discuss their experiences with each other. Although I didn't think about how high the rankings would be, but being eliminated in the first round was too uncomfortable. There are about 7,000 sorcerers still in the magic circle, but less than 8,000. At this rate of elimination, it's a question of whether there will be 1,000 left at dawn. Great demon fighting and martial arts, it's terrifying. I came to participate once and found out that there are really too many masters on the mainland. Everyone chatted in a low voice, while recovering their mental strength, while watching the situation in the magic circle. 7,000 or 8,000 people struggled to resist in the dream world, and the magic power leaked every minute and every second was a considerable number. These magic powers are guided by the magic circle and flow into the interior of the eclipse gate below the playing field. In just 1.5 hours, the magic power collected by Qin Yang has filled 1/10 of the eclipse gate. At this speed, maybe after the individual competition, we can gather all of them, and there is no need for guild battles or anything. At the entrance of the competition venue, at the top of the arch, Itachi Uchiha sat cross-legged, hiding in the darkness, watching everything in front of him. Shaking his head, Uchiha Itachi closed his eyes and squinted for a nap. Time passed by, and the moon at night was constantly changing its position. Some spectators, unable to bear their tiredness, fell into a deep sleep. But in the magic circle, every once in a while, someone would wake up screaming, and then be taken out of the circle by the staff. 2 hours after the start of the game, the remaining number of 6,577 people. 3 hours after the start of the game, the remaining number of 5,428 people. Opening curly bracket. An hour after the start of the game, there were 4,000 people remaining. At IAQ. 5 hours after the start of the game, the number of people dropped sharply to less than 2,100. At this time, the sky has already appeared a touch of the brilliance of the white sun, which has been refracted by the clouds and shot to the ground. There are only more than 2,000 people left. Someone couldn't help murmured outside the field. I originally thought that only 9 out of 10 were eliminated, but now it seems that it is far more than that. At this time, the guys who can still persist in the dream world are all elites among the elites. They are also elites, and they are also divided into 3, 6, and 9. Observe for yourself, those who are about to wake up, their facial expressions will be distorted and the magic power fluctuations on their bodies will be very violent. It's not bad to be able to insist on not being eliminated. Quote. And there are some people who are very relaxed, breathing for a long time, and sleeping very peacefully. These people are the most terrifying. On the south side, the woman in the cloak, as well as several people near her, as well as Gildas of the 10th, Chicrane of the 10th, and others. In addition, there are some mysterious contestants in masks, too. Quote. According to my observation, there are about 30 such people. 30. The people nearby were shocked. Judging from this, there were nearly 30 contestants who had reached the level of Saint 10. Some were recognizable, some deliberately concealed their identities, and some exuded a dark aura, like a black mage. I don't know if I don't see it, but I'm shocked when I see it. There are so many top experts in the magic world. At the same time, Uchiha Itachi had opened his eyes, which was too revealing, and he hid behind the scenes. Looking at the situation in the magic circle at this moment, he nodded clearly. The magic power collection of the Eclipse Gate has reached 1/5. It's almost time to clean up some weaklings. With a thought, he immediately turned to the dream world. 32 dream scenes, and in each scene, the remaining people range from 30 to 50 people to more than 100 people. The most terrifying is the pirate world scene. Above the vast sea, the storm has stopped, and the hundreds of boats of the contestants have been wiped out. Only a few dozen people are still alive, and Irene is one of them. Admiral alone was beaten to the point of defeat, and struggled to support. Kuzan, Kizaru, Akainu, the 3 Admiral's abilities are freezing, flashing, and magma, and each of them is extremely powerful. One-on-one, she still confidently spends a lot of hands and feet, and may be able to win, but 1-on-3, she is lucky not to be killed. At this moment, she regained her human form and flew in the air, her complexion slightly pale. Suddenly, the 3 Kuzans, who were about to step up their efforts to resolve the battle, moved for a while. A will came down, and then, in the sky, a face condensed. The Lord of Dreams, Irene whispered. This existence is definitely abyss. The dream world created by the other party, and the dream life in it, is so terrifying, let alone himself. Ocean scene, the remaining number of survivors, 12. Quote. The face opened, and the voice spread throughout the dream, congratulations, you are qualified. It's finally over. A middle-aged male wizard heaved a sigh of relief. Just a little longer, I'll stop here. You made it to the second round of the individual competition, congratulations to you. Man said with a blank face. This time in the ocean scene, you have stood out from thousands of wizards, and each of them is an elite out of 100. Now, I will send you back to reality, please be prepared. Wait. Irene gritted her teeth and said, which one are you? What she wanted to ask was who you were in the dream, but considering that there were a lot of people nearby, she covered it up a bit. Eileen Berselian, you did a great job. Face chuckled. As for who I am, maybe we will meet later. Then, goodbye. Saying that, the wind and clouds are rolling, and the color of the world changes. The ocean scene freezes, and then with a bang, it shatters into powder. The darkness devoured everything, and Irene and the other 11 qualified people fell into a coma. When they opened their eyes, they had already returned to their bodies, and as far as their eyes could reach, was Mira above the stage. Congratulations, the sun has risen for a new day. With a sunny smile, Mira congratulated, you 321 contestants, advance to the second round of the individual competition. Chapter-681-700 the second round of Magic Reading. You 321 contestants, advance to the second round of the individual competition. In front of the competition venue, on the stage, Mira congratulated with a smile on her face. At this moment, the red light of the magic circle gradually disappeared, and the earth returned to calm. 321 people who made the cut stared at each other, looked at each other, and observed each other's opponents. Only 321 people made the cut, that's more than 32,000 people, and the promotion rate is 1 in 100. Some people outside the field couldn't help but marvel, this is terrible, it's only the first round, it's just 1 in 100. Even the many qualified candidates were a little surprised, they didn't expect only so many people to advance. Only to hear Mira continued, it's not the time to be happy, the second round will start soon. Hearing this suddenly, the qualified people were all startled. Round 2 right away. That's right, we just had that kind of scuffle that didn't even take a break. Yes, although the magic power consumption is not large, but the spirit is very tired. Doesn't the big magic fight last for 7 days? Why is the competition system so tight? I protest, it's not fair. Everyone's attrition is different, and now it's a second round, it doesn't make sense. Immediately, there were dissatisfied protests from below. Hearing this, Mira still kept a smile and said, don't worry, our organizer will take action to restore your mental exhaustion. Between the words, she stretched out her hands, her palms shining with divine brilliance. Super Restoration Magic Holy Archangel. Whoosh. The holy light soared into the sky, flew into the sky, and then condensed into an archangel phantom. Seeing this scene, many people were amazed. I am the holy archangel. The archangel spread out his 10 wings, waved his hand, and lowered a piece of holy light, divine healing. The holy light is flawless, and the sacred aura fills this area. Anyone who is illuminated by the holy light can feel the recovery of physical strength, the disappearance of sleepiness, and the increase of spirit. What super magic is this? Some of the more than 20,000 eliminators outside the arena were healed by the holy light. At this moment, they muttered in shock, I have never heard of healing so many people in one breath. However, many of the people in the arena, those who were qualified, Vivi frowned. Although it has the aura of magic, it doesn't look like magic. That Archangel Phantom is a purer power. However, this kind of thing is irrelevant, and everyone did not go too deep into it. The holy light lasted for more than 10 seconds, and then the angel dissipated, as if it had never appeared. Mira Lang said, everyone who is qualified, your spirits have recovered as before. Next, the second round of the individual competition will be played. Unlike the first round, the second round will proceed faster. First of all, the second round of the game will be played in the venue behind me, and the game screen will be broadcast to the entire magic world simultaneously. Secondly, unlike the first round of Dream Assessment, the second round of competition is purely based on the strength of magic, which we call Magic Rating. As she spoke, Mira took out a magic crystal from behind. This is a magic detection device. Like this, attack it with magic. Mira output magic power, and suddenly, the magic crystal shone with purple light, and then a value appeared on it, 120. The magic power level 1 used just now is 120. Next, increase the magic power output. As soon as his eyes condensed, Myra's magic power instantly increased tenfold, and in an instant, the purple light flourished, and the numerical value on it also jumped rapidly. 1200. Myra smiled and said, "Like what I did, the stronger the magic power, the higher the value." This instrument, different from the general upper limit of 9,999, can hit up to 99,999, so you can use the maximum power with confidence. Magical strike. So it is, a qualified person nodded clearly. This is really a convenient game. If it's just like this, it's totally fine, and it can end quickly. So, how do you qualify? Someone asked. Top 100 advance. Myra glanced at everyone. Each person has 3 chances. If you are not satisfied with the first time, you can play again, or even a second time. Take the one with the highest value. We will update the ranking on the screen in real time. The rankings only record the top 100, and those who are on the list will be qualified and advance to the 3rd round, that is, the Great Demon Fighting and Martial Arts, the real start. The first round, the second round, are just appetizers, screening. The 3rd round is the real story. However, 100 of the 321 qualified candidates were selected, and the elimination rate was not too low. Then, all the qualifiers, and the rest of the contestants, please follow me into the official arena of the Great Demon Fight. Ka ka ka. Behind Myra, the huge playing field, with its heavy stone gate, is slowly opening. Then, a group of people poured in. The venue for the Great Demon Fight is huge, comparable to a football field, more than enough to accommodate more than 30,000 people. Of course, in addition to the contestants and qualifiers, some nobles and commoners from the royal capital came to watch the game. In addition, there are reporters and editors of some magazines in the magic world, and many cameras are ready. With the entry of more than 30,000 people, in the center of the competition venue, the void was projected on the magic big screen in the sky, and the host's picture appeared. It was a man with a mustache, thin build, and a decent suit. It's 6:15 in the morning. Everyone, I'm the host of the 2nd round of the Damodo Yanwu Individual Tournament, Peak. The host's voice fluctuated high and low, and it was very funny. First of all, thank you Miss Myra, the image ambassador, for the 1st round of hard work. Second, thank His Majesty the King for hosting the first Great Demon Fight in Ishgar continent. A long time ago, the Great Demon Fighting and Martial Arts had another name. It was the Carnival of People, Dragons and Demons. People at that time called it the Dragon King Festival. The Dragon King Festival is a war between dragons and humans and demons, not a festival, but a war. Next, let me introduce the guests first. On the screen, the picture flashed. Mila sat behind the red table and waved at the audience. First of all, the first guest, of course, is our lovely Miss Mila. As the ambassador for the martial arts performance of this big magic fight, Miss Mila, what do you want to say to the audience and contestants? Everyone, come on, Mira said helplessly. Okay, it seems that Miss Mira is already very tired to host the 1st round of the competition. The host shrugged and turned to the 2nd person. The 2nd guest is the current president of the Holy 10 Council, who is also the current Holy 10 No. 1 Great Sorcerer, dear Mr. Delajulos Hyperion. Hyperion. This name is much bigger than Mila. There are contestants from all over the world. Maybe some people don't know Mila, but they definitely know Hyperion. After all, they are the 4 heavenly kings, the 4 most famous great sorcerers of Ishgar. It's just that what everyone doesn't know about 4.7 is that the reason why Hyperion is a guest is to monitor the dream. Chinyong didn't care about this at all, and easily let Mira agree. As for the 3rd guest, it's very mysterious, even I don't know who he is. The host spread his hands, and the camera turned to the 3rd person. It was a man wearing a silver mask, sitting there without saying a word, completely ignoring the host's introduction. Not to mention the host, just come to Mira, I don't know who this person is, but I know that it was sent to the town by the dream. This is of course the Lord of Elements, an abyss-level existence. The reason why the Lord of Elements was deliberately placed in charge was to wait for Jeff to appear. Well, third guest, it doesn't seem like I have anything to say. Host was silently rejected, so he had to say. Then, I announce that the second round of the Magic Power Rating of the individual competition will officially begin. Chapter 0688_ the only qualifier. The second round of the individual competition is officially opened. 321 qualified people entered the center of the venue. There was a high dual platform in the center. All of them came to the designated place to wait under the command of the staff. At this moment, a female magician came over, holding a closed box in her hand. There was a circular opening at the top of the box, where you could put your hand in. First of all, it's the draw of the contestants. The host's voice sounded, and through the magic loudspeaker, it spread throughout the venue. In the staff's box, there are 321 numbered cards, and each contestant must draw lots, and according to the result of the lottery, the magic level is evaluated. Player number 1 will be the first to participate, and this number plate is also the code name for your participation in the subsequent rounds. Quote. At the same time, in the field, the female magician walked up to the qualified candidates. Please line up to draw lots. As soon as she finished speaking, Natsu squeezed up from behind. I'll come first, I'll be first. He grinned Isho, reached into the box, and quickly pulled out a number card. Numbers are marked on the number plate. Camera immediately locked on him, and everyone could see the specific information from the 09 big screen. Not only the number plate information, but also the registration information of the player. Why, the first drawer was lucky. Host said in surprise. Contestant number 7, Natsu Dragon Neil, the original fairy tale sorcerer, who is good at flame magic, is the dragon slayer of fire, and is called Fire Dragon, Natsu. There was a burst of cheers at the scene. Natsu, come on. Fire Dragon, don't embarrass Fury. The person who shouted like this is naturally a citizen of the Fury Kingdom. In the territory of Fury, the name of the Fire Dragon Natsu is still known. Please draw lots for the next player. The staff urged with a smile. Please don't cheat. Once you find out, you will be eliminated directly. The implication is that cheating is fine, just don't get caught. Anyway, it's just a lottery, and the number plate is not so particular. Everyone looked at each other, and someone stepped forward immediately. The draw was fast, and the information of each contestant was constantly flashing on the big screen. 109, Feike, Court Wizard of Scott Kingdom, 27 years old. 221, Nandapo, Arika Kingdom, S-Class Wizard of the Guild, Heart of the Ocean. 177, Cathrote, S-Class Wizard. 011, Urza, Kingdom of Fury, Guild, Fairy Tale, S-Class Mage O. Shonen, Pi. 068, Paperman Zuji, _ is greater than or equal to. 069, Nalu Pudding Library, unknown. Y, Freya, unknown. 071, Obra, unknown. 072, Black Snake, unknown. 319, Aaron, unknown. 321, Dao Zun, unknown. Names kept flashing, and all kinds of people appeared and disappeared on the big screen. Surprisingly, however, at least half of the more than 300 people, the information is unknown. Even the general audience knows this. The great demon Doyanwu does not refuse the participation of black demon fighters. The origins of so many people who hide their names or participate under pseudonyms are unknown. But there are too many people. It's impossible for all the unknown contestants to be black mages. Some of them just don't want to be known, right? After all, it's only the second round, and there will be the third and fourth rounds after that. If someone knows his identity, he will expose the magic he is good at, and it will be easy to be targeted at that time. The voice of discussion came from the audience. 30,000 wizards who were eliminated earlier were also part of the audience at this moment. It took more than half an hour for all the contestants to finally complete the draw. During this time, the host has also been eloquent, constantly introducing the players on the list. One of the favorites is Gildas of the Holy Ten, who is good at super advanced destruction magic, Smash, and his number is 077. Quote, "Among these qualified people, it seems that there are also a few children, who are only 11 or 12 years old, and even past the first round. There are also quite a few Dragon Slayer wizards, the Iron Dragon of Ghosts, the Heavenly Dragon of the Cat-Turning House, and the Thunder Dragon and Fire Dragon of Fairy Tale. Of course, all the contestants are very strong, they are one of a kind, and everyone is an elite." The host scanned the list and finally saw number 321, Dao Zun. Strange dress. He doesn't know Dao Zun, but he can't feel much magical aura from the other party. Among the many top wizards, he belongs to a different kind of existence. However, unlike his reaction, the faces of 800 or 900 people in the audience suddenly turned pale. It seemed that he saw the most terrifying existence in the world, and he was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. "What's the matter with you?" someone asked his companion with concern. "That guy is a monster." Someone gritted his teeth and said repressively, "In the first round, my scene in the dream world was the war between the two countries. All our contestants were assigned to the strong country, but this person was assigned to the weak country. The final result is this man used a flying sword to slaughter all our contestants, including the army of 300,000. Hearing this, several people around took a deep breath. Kill 300,000 troops. Even if 300,000 pigs were put there, in just 6 hours, they wouldn't be able to kill them all. And you don't know, the man murmured again tremblingly. That guy, from thousands of meters away, can slash with a sword, slaughter an army, kill people like chopping vegetables and melons. From beginning to end, neither of us could get within 100 meters of each other." Quote. Flashed, and the head fell to the ground. Not only that, the opponent killed everyone in the scene, not at the beginning, but in the last hour, the crazy killing started. In the early stage, the contestants had no idea that such a person existed. In our scene, the final qualifier is the only one. The man said in a trance again, "I was one of the last few people killed. At that time, I confirmed through the imprint that before I died, there were only 8 people alive, and he killed us with one sword." 7. After hearing this, the group of people around were completely speechless. What kind of scary monster is this? Everyone looked at Dao Zun, but the other party seemed to have sensed it and suddenly looked up. In an instant, the eyes of these people stinged, and there was a sharp edge on their backs. "Hey, terrible guy, so far away, he can feel our gaze." In all kinds of thoughts, the game finally started. The first to appear is the number 1 player, a young female magician. She walked to the center of the stage and used her strongest magic to bombard the magic crystal. 3 consecutive times, 3 values appeared. 2658, 2677, 2669. Host announced loudly, "Congratulations to the number 1 player, who entered the leaderboard and temporarily ranked number 1, with a magic rating of 2677. Chapter 0689 The name of the Lich King. Recognition failed. There is a problem with the source image. Chapter 0690 Fairies Radiance. The third update the cat owner at home, there is a small piece of hair loss on the left hind leg, and the skin is exposed. I don't know what happened. Is there any big brother who knows, online, etc., urgent. By the way, still a kitten, 3 months old. Close black lens bracket. Go on. The Lord of Elements waved his hand and shot out flames, melted the ice, finished everything, and sat back indifferently. Seeing this scene, many people were shocked. This guy is so strong, he can melt ice so easily and his magic power is pure. It's more than pure, this person's fire magic, the feeling is amazing. Sure enough, it's a guest who can sit in that position, not an ordinary person. In that hand just now, the more profound the demonic way, the more things felt. Under the dual stage, wearing a cloak and a witch hat, Irene's eyes widened. The essence of magic, this person is the abyss. Unbelievably, she saw a great abyss wizard. Others may not be able to see through it, but Irene can. She has seen Jeff and the real abyss of magic, so she can perceive it. The fire magic used by the Master of Elements before, and the dark magic used by Jeff, gave her the same feeling. That seems to be the essence of magic, magic itself, everything is like the law. Is there actually an abyss-level great wizard, a dreamer? Irene's mind was stunned. Had seen Shadow Demon before, and then she saw 417, the Lord of Dreams, and now she was a mysterious guest again, and the shock to her from the dream became stronger and stronger. But the more so, the stronger her heart throbbed, and she couldn't wait to meet the dreamy president. However, what she didn't know was that the current Master of Elements was already a 5-star. At the beginning, the 4-star Elemental Master had already reached the level of the Abyss, and after the 5-star level, the magic path became more and more profound. Now in the past month, he has traveled all over the mountains, traveled the world, absorbed the pure 4 elements, and has built the element plane, which is only 1 step away from the 6th star. Taking this step out as God. Go on. Seeing that everyone was in a daze, the scene was quiet, and the Lord of Elements had to speak again. Didn't you hear me? Ah, yes. Host said quickly and unconsciously used the honorary title. I don't know what the name of this guest gentleman is. For a magician as powerful as you, everyone present is very curious. If you don't mind, can you tell me? Hearing this, the Master of Elements was silent for a while before he said, the World Master. He has now created an elemental plane. Although elemental life has not yet been born, he has created a small plane. It should be no problem to call himself a World Master. World Lord, thank you for your help. The host was stunned, but he couldn't help slandering in his heart. Is this a title, not a name? However, the other party is a guest, and he is such a powerful wizard, a big man, of course he dare not question. Okay, although a little accident happened, the game continues. Host turned to face the camera and said, congratulations to player number 55, the Lich King, for ranking first with a magic power level of 35,000. Next, the game continues _. However, the commotion this time has a big impact now. Whether it is some wizards in the audience, or the contestants under the dual stage, they are all very concerned about the Lord of Elements. I know one has ever heard of the name, Jeju, but from today onwards, this name will definitely spread Q. In particular, this game was broadcast to the entire magic world, and the nearby countries may have seen this scene. Regardless, the game will continue. The wizards who participated in the competition after that seem to have been stimulated, and they all showed their strongest strengths, trying to make a name for themselves on the leaderboard. And because of this, the top 100 rankings on the big screen have changed very quickly. By the time he reached number 60, the original number 1, Natsu had dropped to 15th. It's all amazing, there are so many powerful wizards. Off the stage, Natsu couldn't help muttering, Kildas, how many numbers can you make in your words? I don't know, how can I know if I haven't tried it? Gildas on the side shook his head, however, it is almost impossible to surpass the current number 1. As soon as the voice fell, the host's voice suddenly sounded. Congratulations to player number 68, Paper Man, who ranked 3rd with a magic power level of 8,200. Hearing this, the two of Natsu looked up and saw contestant number 68, all covered in armor, completely hiding themselves. That magic, Gildas narrowed his eyes. At the same time, somewhere in the auditorium behind the dueling stage, Makarov suddenly frowned. What's wrong? 3 generations. Mevis glanced at her and whispered. There is a familiar feeling I should have met that person. Makarov said solemnly, but I have no impression. The other party dressed like this and seemed to be afraid of being recognized. Really? The pair of small wings on Mebus' head moved. However, the development of the magic world is really fast. The guest who shot just now is a great wizard of the abyss. Huh. Suddenly, she looked downstairs in surprise. 101. A female, looks full of alcohol. Even while waiting, she drinks with a jug. That's the wizard of fairy tale, I can feel it. Mebus suddenly smiled. Third generations, remember the first place in the competition, can you get the magic of the abyss? I suddenly have a good idea. The first generation. Makarov was startled. Don't expose it. This big magic fight is a dream conspiracy, and their people must be nearby. Don't they welcome everyone to attend? Mebus Vivi Isho immediately thought, and passed his voice out. Kana Ruperona, the wizard of fairy tale, has been drinking alcohol since she was 15 years old. Even while waiting for the game, she didn't listen to drinking. Suddenly, in her mind, a voice sounded. The wizard of fairy tale. Don't be afraid, I'm Mebus Viviamlio, the first president of fairy tale. What? Kana's drinking action stopped, showing a surprised look. She looked around, but couldn't see anything unusual about the people around her. Only you can hear this voice. Don't worry, I'm going to inscribe a super magic on you, which is one of the 3 super magic of fairy tale. You can borrow my magic to participate in the assessment. You are really the first generation, aren't you dead? This is complicated. In short, you have to work hard and grab the first position. Then at the end, it was announced that fairy tale would be reorganized, and all the outgoing companions would come back. Hearing this, Kana fell into silence, and after a while, she nodded without a trace. Although I don't know what the situation is, since the other party has the ability to talk to her alone and wants to harm her, it seems that there is no need to be so circumspect. Moreover, she has been waiting for things like reorganizing the fairy tale. Soon, the magicians in front of them completed the magic assessment one by one, and on the big screen, the top 100 rankings were finally filled. Number 1, Lich King, 35,000. Number 2, Yakuro, 8,600. Number 3, Paper Man, 8,200. Number 100, Flo Grams, 1080. With such a huge gap, do you want to be the first? Difficult, impossible. Even the last place has a magic power level of more than 1,000. If it is just a normal kana, whether it can exceed 1,000 is a problem. Please come to the stage with player number 101. Quote. The judge's voice came. Kana took a deep breath, put down the jug, and stepped up. Every step she took, the magic power around her body rose by 1 point. In particular, the fairy tale Huji engraved on the left waist exudes a sacred brilliance. Contestant number 101, please attack the magic water. Before the judge's words were finished, Kana suddenly raised her right hand, and suddenly, all the brilliance was condensed into a fist. This strong light shines on the entire competition venue. This is impossible, crazy. This magic power is super magic. Such a young girl can use super magic. Countless voices kept coming. Kana felt that her magic power was being hollowed out. She gathered all her strength and shouted, "The light of the fairy." Chapter 0691 Level 1. Bright of the Fairy. And slammed the magic power condensed on her fist into the magic crystal in one breath. This is one of the legendary super magic, super obliteration magic, which gathers the sun, moon and stars together, combines magic power, and condenses it into one punch. This is a merciless light that never allows the existence of the enemy, a super magic that surpasses countless kinds of magic. I saw the holy light shining, and the entire venue was shrouded in this dazzling light. The light of obliteration shot out of Kana's fist, swallowed the magic crystal, and then formed a huge ring, and the next moment, the ring suddenly tightened. Ka ka ka. The magic crystal was tightly strangled, and this halo seemed to be strangling the magic crystal, and its power was continuously increasing. And the numbers on it are also beating rapidly. The single digit jumped to the 1000 digit in an instant. In the next second, this number expanded further, increasing tenfold, reaching tens of thousands. Host shouted excitedly, "Super magic! Super magic has appeared. It is one of the super magic of fairy tale. I didn't expect a little girl to use it. It's amazing, it has reached 10,000 points now. It's still going on." Boom. Everyone had their mouths wide open, full of dull expressions. 11,000, 12,000, 13,000. Every second, the magic power level is rising rapidly, and in an instant, this number has exceeded 20,000. It's already 20,000. The host murmured in shock. Could it be that this little girl has to surpass the number 1? At the guest seat, Mira was also very surprised. "Miss Kana." Mira murmured softly. She didn't know why Kana had such power. Although Kana was an excellent mage, she definitely did not have this level. Is someone helping her from behind? Compared to this, why use fairy's glory? Mira's mind was full of doubts, and her beautiful eyes were also staring at the magic crystal. Even the Master of Elements couldn't help raising his eyebrows, and secretly said in his heart, "Asmebus power. This little loli is very competitive, but unfortunately, if it is used by myself, it may reach 30,000, or even 30,000. 40,000, but Kana's body can't bear this kind of power, it's almost at its limit." As if to confirm his idea, after the value of the magic crystal reaches 25,000, its increase suddenly begins to decline. 25,200, 25,300, 25,500. In the end, this amazing number was frozen at 25,800. "Amazing!" Host said loudly. Contestant number 101, Kana Uruperona, the wizard from Fairy Tale, obtained a magic power rating of 25,800 with super magic. Congratulations to Miss Kana for winning the second place on the list. Swish. The ranking of the big screen changed, except for the first Lich King. Everyone behind them all dropped a ranking. And the 100th person fell out of the leaderboard and was eliminated tragically. There was a commotion at the scene, and in the audience, Fiore's country name was boiling. Fairy tale. Fairy tale. Fairy tale. Why? The cheers continued. After a long time, the brilliance dissipated, and the magic crystal remained. Kana was covered in sweat, half kneeling weakly in front of the magic crystal, looking at the numbers on it, and smiled bitterly. "What kind of monster is 35,000 inches?" she murmured and fell into a coma. Seeing this, the adjudicator immediately sent people to the stage and took them to treatment. "Is she all right?" In the corner of the auditorium, Mebus reluctantly said. "Sure enough, super magic is still too reluctant for her. It's a pity, it's almost herself. She can definitely break the 35,000 points, but she can't compete. She came here mainly to see what the Hell Dream wanted to do." At this time, the host said, "There was a little accident. Kana passed out because of the excessive consumption of magic power, but it doesn't matter, she will be fine. I think we will see her performance in the third round. Next, the game continues." Having said that, everyone is still immersed in the shock of super magic. In the audience, most people's minds were focused on the leaderboard. First, the Lich King, 35,000. Second, Kana, 25,800. Third, Yakuro, 8,600. Fourth, Paperman, 8,200. Seventh, Urza, 6,600. 16th, Natsu, 4,510. 100th, Priya, 1110. As the top 100 rankings were crowded, the changes after that became faster and faster. Almost every time a contestant came on stage, the last contestant had to be squeezed out. It's too intense. The top 20 doesn't change very quickly, but the last 80 are changing almost every moment. Number 170, the ruler of ghosts, the Iron Dragon Jijal, the user of the Iron Dragon slaying magic. The magic level is equal to 5,700 feet, and ranks among the top 20. Number 177, Cutthroat, Magic Rating, 4,690. Top 20. Number 183, The Lord of Ghosts, President Joseph Zala, one of the top 10 magic wizards, with a magic power rating 17,800. Ranked 3rd. Another one who breaks 10,000. Ellipsis ellipsis. M asking for flowers, 219. Login name, Pluto, magic level, 25,900 feet. Jump to the 2nd place. This guy is the president of the Gate of the Underworld. Only 100 points higher than Kana, this guy deliberately. Quote. 220, Absolute Zero, Silver, magic level, 100,400 feet. The Ice Wizard. 221, Kwangwa, 10,400. Another magician who exceeds 10,000. And it's exactly the same. 222, Ethel, 8,800. 223, Tempest, 7,790. It's terrible, starting from the 220th, 7 or 8 consecutive screen refreshes. They have occupied 6 places in the top 10. But this was just the beginning. As more and more mages participated in the measurement, the competition for the top 10 places became extremely fierce. When the number 300 is reached, the top 10 are all mages with over 10,000. The host was already dumbfounded, and his tone trembled a bit when he explained, the top 10 have all reached 10,000 points, and each has a combat power comparable to the Holy 10. I really didn't know it before, I thought it was rated by the council. The Holy 10 is the pinnacle of the magic world, but now it seems that the magic world is really Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Quote. However, no matter how the list changes, the Lich King still ranks first, and it seems that no one can break the desperate record of 35,000. Under the duel stage, only a dozen people remained undetermined. Aaron's number is 319, the third to last position. At this moment, she looked at the leaderboard and couldn't help laughing. Have you heard of the one called the Lich King? Beside her, an old man dressed in leather powder and leaning on a wand shook his head. No, this is already the level of the pseudo-abyss, just like us. For the magic of the abyss, you have to show some real skills. Serena, the god of the sky, wore a cloak and grinned. This time, we are protecting the 12 shields, and there are 7 participating in the competition. All the top 10 of the list are ours. Let the Lich King go to the 8th position. The first place is rewarded with abyss magic, and this is the second round. What's the point of winning the first place? Lakite folded his hands together and shook his head indifferently. Just hit it, and it's guaranteed to be within 100 places. That's it. It's not easy to get first place. Irene rolled her eyes and suddenly looked to the right side. There, a man in a white Taoist robe stood with his hands closed and his eyes closed. This guy is called Dao Zun. I heard that he is the only qualified person for a certain dream scene. The entry number is 321, the last one. Chapter 0692 _ The Star of God collapsed. Daozun, contestant number 321. This is of course not a coincidence. It is too easy to get the number you want. Of the 321 contestants, at least 1/10 of them cheated. Irene is like this, so is the Gate of the Underworld, and even the Gang of Paper People is still like this. But all the consecutive numbers are cheating. 321 ahead of time, Irene would have chosen the last 7 finale positions. However, it was a little surprising that there were more than a dozen people who broke the 10,000 points. Daozun looked at the big screen with a calm expression. After that, counting the 12 shields of the protector, there are still some people who have hidden their hands. I am afraid that there are more than 20 or even 30 magicians with more than 10,000 points. There are about 30 magicians of the 10th magic level. That's pretty much what one of the knockouts predicted in the first round. The Lich King's shot is really right. As long as you give a little pressure, this group of people will obediently contribute more magic power. After all, it is a great opportunity to become famous. If there is no Lich King, the competition may not be as fierce as it is now. There must be more people who choose to hide. Just thinking about it, the host's exclamation came again. Appeared again, the player who broke 10,000. Player number 313, Uswaya, has a magic power level of 10,000. Temporarily ranked 12th. Uswaya, the great priest of a certain religious sect, has this strength. To be honest, I am not surprised. He shook his head again and again. Unfortunately, this is a magic event in the whole continent. Otherwise, in an ordinary competition, this result is enough to rank first. Under the stage, several people from the gate of Hades gathered together. When Hades saw each other, he sneered, "Do the mages of the Bright Camp, even the priests of the church, want abyss magic? This priest is nothing to worry about. In order to get the first place, ask for a dream resurrection end. The Lich King is the enemy," Kwangwa said indifferently. "However, I don't think they mean to let people get the first place. That, Dao Zun's finale is to prevent the number one from falling into the hands of others." She didn't know that even the Lich King was a member of Dream. However, with Dao Zun at the finale, in the second round, they have no intention of competing for the first place. The duel stage, the adjudicator shouted, "Please contestant 314 come to the stage." Hearing this, Serena grinned suddenly, took off his cloak, and strode away. Seeing this person, many people at the scene were shocked. "You're not," in the guest seat, Hyperion stood up and said in shock, "Aren't you dead?" "Huh." Walking to the magic crystal, Serena paused, glanced at him, and said disdainfully, "How could the gods die? I've returned from the Yellow Spring Hell. 8 dragons. Roar." The sound of the dragon's roar resounded, and everyone at the scene felt pain in their eardrums. 8 giant dragons roared, and the suffocating magic power enveloped the audience. It turned out to be the head of the original 4 heavenly kings. "Impossible, I heard that he died, and the body was grandly buried by the council. The terrifying magic power is completely different from what I have felt so far." Serena turned into 8 dragons, 8 dragons with 8 attributes of dragon-killing magic, intertwined with each other, and finally slammed into the magic crystal. Square root. Boom. Earthquake, just the aftermath of the shock, shattered and cracked the entire dueling stage, and the magic crystal suffered the most direct attack. Suddenly, the numbers above skyrocketed wildly. 10,000. 20,000. 30,000. Just a few seconds, the number has exceeded 30,000, and it is still increasing. In an instant, a breathless voice sounded. Before the Lich King broke 30,000 and reached 35,000, there was no comparison at that time, so the shock was not as strong at this moment. "I'm number 1. Serena's roar came, and unreservedly released the limit of magic power. 31,000, 32,000. Underscore. This increase suddenly stopped, obviously reaching the limit, and then fell rapidly, and finally stopped at 33,300. Cut. Serena's eyes turned cold, he snorted angrily, turned around and left. He gave up even the second blow, obviously not having enough strength to go beyond his limit. The crowd is still in shock. He walked back to the stage and said angrily, "You should pay attention, there is a problem with the magic crystal." After 30,000, its evaluation difficulty suddenly increased. From 0 to 30,000, it is almost only 3 or 4 seconds, but from 30,000 to 33,300, it is half a minute. No wonder no one has reached the level of 30,000 before. Once the value of 30,000 is exceeded, the difficulty suddenly increases sharply. "I see." On his wand whispered, "However, it's not a problem for us to break 35,000. After a while, the audience at the scene recovered from the shock. "It's really shocking that Serena-sama is still alive. Could it be that the council made a mistake?" Host couldn't help but said, "However, put this aside for now, there are still the last few players left, and the game continues." As soon as he finished speaking, several people in the audience walked up. A man in a cloak said, "I advise you to stay away." He advised the adjudicator, and then started the test directly. I saw that he stretched out his right hand, and the palm of his hand suddenly split open, which seemed to be the muzzle of a gun, in which the golden magic power quickly gathered, and then a shot was fired. Boom! This cannon completely bombarded the magic crystal. Almost instantly, the number on it reached 10,000, and then it jumped one after another. In a blink of an eye, it was 20,000. After a while, the number stayed at 24,444 inches. Countless people gasped. It seems to be just an ordinary magic cannon attack, but it has such a strong destructive power. Is the magic crystal broken? In other words, the blow just now was just a high enough magic power, and it was completely used as a nourishment for the magic crystal to absorb, otherwise, it would not be in this form of expression. Player number 315, login name, Judge, unknown. Just as he finished speaking, number 316 has already started testing. Soon, another shocking figure appeared. Player 316, 24,444. Player number 317, racked, 24,444. Host growled his mouth blankly, the instrument is broken, absolutely broken. His self-doubt did not affect the magic crystal's judgment. Soon, player 318, 24,444. 4 consecutive identical evaluation results made the scene silent. Everyone fell into a state of absent-mindedness. If the instrument was not broken, then there was only one possibility. These people have the strength comparable to the god Serena, so it is easy to control the magic level to 24,444. At the guest table, the Lord of Elements was overjoyed. The magic power contributed by these few people is equivalent to the sum of the hundreds of people in front. Now, the gate of the 5.2 eclipse of the sun has reached 2/5, almost half. He was very happy that the Guardian 12 Shields deserved to be a top-level magician, surpassing the 10th level of the Holy One. At this moment, on number 319, Irene stepped onto the duel stage. She first glanced at the Element Master in the guest seat, and then said, "Jeju, I won the first place, can I meet the people of your organizer?" She guessed that the World Master was a dreamer, so she asked directly. Hearing this, the Lord of Elements immediately issued and said, "Yes." It was too late for him to be happy when someone else gave magic power on a poll. Hearing the answer, Irene laughed lightly, and with her delicate face, many male audience members lost their minds. This woman is also a very powerful wizard. Threatened to be the first. 35,000. I saw Irene closed her eyes, and the magic power around her body began to climb slowly. Extreme Edition. The Star of God collapses. Chapter 0693_Admiration for the little girl. The Star of the Gods collapsed. Irene's soft drink sounded, and her magic power suddenly rose into the sky, like a light, projected on the sky. The audience in the seats may not have much feeling, but the faces of the sorcerers who are profound in the magic way change greatly at this moment. Additional magic. One of the guests, Hyperion, looked ugly. This woman is actually an add-on magician. What did she add to it? The opponent's purpose is to hit a high enough number, that is, a strong lethality, and the magic power is going to the sky. Then, think about it a little, and the result can be imagined. Could it be? Hyperion suddenly raised his head and looked above the blue sky. At the same time, in the audience, Meba's face also sank to Vivi. The situation is not very good. It is a combination of additional magic and celestial magic, beyond the limits of additional and celestial magic. She gritted her teeth and said, "Magic power is attached to the meteorite outside the sky, causing it to fall. If the meteorite's straight diameter exceeds 1 kilometer, then the entire royal city will be destroyed." Hearing this, Makarov was shocked. "This is not a bad level, the first generation, I will stop it." "Wait, don't worry, Sandemu," Mebus said quickly. "The Lord is more anxious than us. If it really falls, I will protect the people here at the last minute." 09 Between the words, the magic power projected by Irene caught a huge meteorite in outer space, and then dragged it, causing it to fall towards the planet. Irene stood on the duel stage, her wand held high, still continuing to output magic power. In order to break the Lich King's record, she had to use her strongest moves. At this moment, sweat stains appeared on her delicate face. What is she doing? Just holding up the wand and attacking the sky. Hey, you got it wrong, it's the magic crystal. You look at it, every day in the sky. Someone shouted in a panic, and then tens of thousands of eyes looked up into the sky. I saw a black celestial body that was rapidly falling here. Of the atmosphere, the celestial body is surrounded by flames, which is like a meteorite, bringing destruction. No, that's a meteorite. What? You are crazy. Adjudicator was also shocked and turned pale, and looked at Irene in amazement. Do you want to commit suicide? You want to drag all of us to bury? Crazy. There was a commotion at the scene, panic spread, and someone got up and was about to flee the place. But thinking rationally, what's the point of escaping hundreds of thousands of kilometers once such a huge meteorite falls? That was a moment, the power that could wipe out the entire capital, within a radius of 100 miles, there would be no grass, and it would be impossible to escape. At this moment, the panicked person looked frightened, and the angry person stood up and scolded. For these, Erin didn't care at all. To break the record of 35,000, this is the most direct way. To be honest, she is not sure about ordinary magic. As for the meteorite falling, no, there is a great wizard of the abyss here. She doesn't believe that the other party will let the meteorite fall and interrupt the great magic fight. Thinking so, she glanced at the Lord of Elements. As if aware of her gaze, the Lord of Elements also gave her a faint look. Quiet. He opened his mouth, as if possessing magic power, and immediately suppressed the riots on the scene. Contestant number 319, Irene Bersarian, you intend to destroy the great demon-fighting martial arts arena. I'll keep it in mind for now, and I'll settle the account with you later. Between words, he suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed it in the direction of the stage. Immediately, the magic crystal set up in the center of the dual platform was immediately captured. In the next moment, the Lord of Elements moved, and people appeared hundreds of meters in the sky. He stood in the sky, looking up at the falling star. A meteorite with a diameter of about 1,000 to 3,000 kilometers, it is not difficult to stop it. Similar moves, 6 spots will be able to, and can create several stars in an instant. But preventing the fall is not the main purpose. The main purpose is to let the magic crystal absorb Irene's magic power. Thinking of this, the Lord of Elements immediately threw the magic crystal in his hand. Whoosh! The magic crystal turned into a beam of violet light, and moved towards the falling star in an instant. The two collided at high altitude, but the seemingly terrifying sky star fell, but it failed to destroy the magic crystal. The magic power above the sky star was passing frantically and flowing into the magic crystal. The Lord of the World. Below, countless people looked up and stared, praying that the World Master could block this blow. Otherwise, they would have to die countless times. However, the magic crystal could not stop it, and Qianxing still carried the flames and bombarded the earth. In just a short moment, the huge meteorite was less than 1,000 meters above the ground. And its speed is far beyond the speed of sound. At this speed, it only takes 1 second before it will hit the ground. It's over. At this moment, countless people closed their eyes in pain. But there are also some people who have already accumulated magic power, and they only take action when the World Master fails. Maybe together, they can save themselves. HMPH, it's really making trouble for me. The Lord of Elements snorted softly, facing the huge meteorite. His eyes were calm, and the silver mask was imprinted with firelight. Suddenly, he raised his right hand, as if to block the meteorite with one hand. This time, even Mevis was dumbfounded. She thought that the other party would directly smash the meteorite, so that although it would cause damage, at least the crisis would be reduced. But she never imagined that the World Master wanted to block it with her body. It was a meteorite, not a glass ball. This guy is the abyss. Mevis had self-doubt in his heart. I can't read it wrong, right? However, the next scene suddenly made this little loli completely sluggish. I saw the huge meteorite with terrifying momentum and flaming flames, and the moment it touched the Lord of Elements, the picture was frozen. It seemed that in an instant, the passage of time became slow, and the distance of space was infinitely extended. It was as if the space where the World Lord was located was separated from this world, and Mevis had the illusion that the world was separated. But the next second, it disappeared. The huge meteorite, which was 1 or 2 kilometers long, disappeared out of thin air, and completely lost its trace, as if it had never appeared, without a trace. This 227. Hyperion said blankly, "What happened? What did I miss?" He frowned deeply, thinking about it carefully. He was so hit in the spirit that he wouldn't miss it at all. How did the meteorite disappear? Broken. No, there will always be wreckage when smashed. Is that a moment of reaching the powder? No, it should have been wiped away in an instant, leaving no dust behind. Is this possible? Impossible to think about. However, Irene was even more sluggish than him. Her strongest move was so easily defeated by the opponent. This is the abyss. Jeff is not as terrifying as him. Irene was shaken, wondering if the magic she had learned was true. The scene was quiet for a few seconds, and then the audience burst into cheers. As expected of a guest, it's really scary. Long live the Lord of the World. The Master of Elements dodged and returned to the guest seat, then waved his hand, and the magic crystal was thrown out. With a bang, the magic crystal fell back to its original position. At this time, everyone can see clearly the numbers displayed above. 556,390. Someone screamed. You caused me trouble and I deducted 20,000 points from you, so the record score is 36,390. Quote. The Lord of Elements said indifferently, "Do you have an opinion?" Hearing the words, Irene was stunned for a long time, but suddenly Isho said, I dare not have any opinion. The Lord of the World is indeed the great wizard of the abyss. The little girl admires it extremely. Chapter 0694 Level 2. The first update I went to the country today. The update will probably come back at night. I don't dare to have an opinion. The Lord of the World is worthy of being the great wizard of the abyss. The little girl's subtle magic is really not worth mentioning. Erin complimented. She is now convinced that the person in front of her is definitely a member of the dream, otherwise such a terrifying guy would not be able to remain unrecognizable, and only a mysterious dream could exist such a terrifying guy. Moreover, during this time, she investigated all the circumstances of the dream and came to a believable conclusion. First of all, the power of the dream is far from this continent, and even far exceeds the level of the Western continent. At the same time, there is no trace of the other party's members in the past history, so it can be judged that the other party is neither from Ishgar nor from the Western continent. So, the conclusion is simple, from a more mysterious place, on this planet, or another world. Another planet. No matter which one is, it is an extremely difficult existence. In pursuit of a higher realm, Irene wants to join the other party, but she has to make a decision after seeing the other party's president. Since you're okay with it, it's best. The Lord of Elements left a sentence and said no more. Then, the leaderboards on the big screen are updated. 319, Erin Bersalian, 36,390, number 1. What a terrifying woman. Even if this guy's magic power level is cut off by 20,000 points, it still exceeds that of the Lich King. It's not the level of magic power. After reading it for so long, you still don't understand. The magic crystal calculates pure lethality. That's right, although the Lich King's ice is strong, its destructive power is not as good as the fall of the meteor just now. This result is normal. This is not to say that Irene is stronger than the Lich King. It can only be said that the destructive power of the Star of God is much stronger than that of winter's wrath. In this regard, Irene herself knew that she did not dare to underestimate the Lich King. The power of the frozen soul made even her heart palpitate. However, looking at the ranking list at the moment, Irene said with a smile, "Lord World Lord, I have won the first place, can you let me see the organizer?" First. The Lord of Elements opened his eyes penetrated from under the mask, and fell on the graceful figure of the other party. "The game is not over yet, there are 2 people behind." Saying this, he looked at the host. "Go ahead." Yes, Lord World Lord." Host nodded excitedly and hurriedly said, "Contestant number 320, please." Hearing this, under the dual stage, the old man on crutches stood up immediately. He took a step and walked towards the stage, but he just took 3 steps, but he stopped. "I heard you called, Dao Zun." He looked back at the last contestant. Dao Zun did not answer, and still closed his eyes and rested. "Strange person, I can't feel any magical breath from him." The old man took a deep look at Venerable Dao before walking onto the stage. In this case, the biggest possibility is that the level of the other party has surpassed mine, but even if it is an abyss wizard, it is impossible to transfer the magic power in the body. The breath has converged to this level, most likely, he has no magic at all. There is no magic. At the same time, the host began to introduce the penultimate contestant. Player 320, the login name is the King of Magic. Really arrogant, even dare to use this name to participate in the competition. Not only him, but also the audience below. Is it possible that he is a super expert like the woman Irene? Impossible, one is terrible enough, and another one, who can stand it? The old man and Irene know each other, maybe it's not necessarily the other's teacher. Irene is terrified to this extent, if it is a teacher, then it is worth it. This doubt did not last long. The sorcerer stepped onto the stage, glanced at the leaderboard, and struck a random blow. A halo flickered, bombarded the magic crystal, and immediately hit a 4-digit number. 1888. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but be startled. They were looking forward to the earth-shattering super magic, but the result was only this level. No, this old man's ranking 1888, just ranked 99th. The original 99th place result was 1887. He deliberately, after him, there is only one contestant. Even if the other party can enter the list and surpass him, at most he will be pushed to 100th place, and he will definitely advance to the 3rd round. Oh cunning old man. Many people were scorned. But the results have come out, and the King of Magic has no idea of hitting the second blow, and finally ranked 99th. Seeing this, the host breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid of another terrifying existence and refreshed his worldview. Ahem, congratulations to the Magic King player, who advanced to the 3rd round ahead of schedule. Then, the 2nd round of the individual competition, the last player, please number 321. Host said loudly, contestant number 321, the login name, let me see Dowson. It's really strange, the login name of each of the last batch of contestants is too strange. The previous Miss Irene, the login name is Scarlet Despair, there's the Sorcerer King, there's the Judge and so on. At this moment, Dao Zun finally opened his eyes, and after hearing that he was the only one left, he stepped onto the stage. As soon as he stepped on the stairs, Irene's voice sounded beside him. Although I can't perceive your magical aura, can you please give me the first place? Huh. Dao Zun looked sideways, are you so sure that this deity can break your record? No. Irene shook her head and said, it's just that the first place is very important to me, and it doesn't make sense for you to compete for the first place. It's just the 2nd round of knockouts. There is no reward for winning the first place. Hearing the words, Dao Zun was stern, glanced at the other party, and walked towards the magic crystal. Since the deity shot, it is 1. Wuji is 1, deity is Wuji. Wuji is the beginning of all things, the beginning of all things in the universe, it is 1, the one. Dao Zun's Wuji Dao body contains Dao meaning. If you don't take the first place, there will be a problem. He walked towards the magic crystal step by step, and the sound in his mouth was vague. Xuanzang of heaven and earth, the root of all energy. Cultivating hundreds of millions of kalpas and proving my supernatural powers. Boom. In an instant, golden light overflowed. The entire venue was bathed in golden light. The golden light magic spell, calm and concentrated, accompanied by the fragrance of the Tao body, everyone is like being in a fairyland, like a dream. The next moment, a golden light flashed, and a flying sword fell into the hands of Dao Zun. I saw Dao Zun brushed over the body of the sword, like a divine light, and the flying sword suddenly shot out. Whoosh! With a flash of gold, everything is destroyed. Before the magic crystal blocked the divine light, it was pierced through the center by a single blow. With a click, the magic crystal appeared finely cracked, and finally shattered into crystal powder. Immediately afterwards, the numbers above it jumped wildly. 10,000. 30,000. 50,000. 90,000. Then, 99,999. His. The whole place fell into silence. However, after another moment, it seemed that there was an error in the program, the number became garbled, and finally turned into 5 big question marks. Chapter 0695-top 100. The magic crystal was pierced and shattered by a single blow, and the detection equipment installed on it also suddenly appeared garbled, and the numbers of the magic power level that jumped wildly, finally turned into 5 big question marks. Just like the mood of the audience at the moment. Question mark. Is the instrument broken? What the hell are you talking about? Clearly out of scope for testing. In the last second before the garbled code, the value has jumped to 99,999. It all happened so fast that no one was ready. After the results came out, they were stunned for 7 or 8 seconds before they were completely shocked. What a joke. The magic crystals were all pierced. Irene's meteorite fell, and the magic crystals that couldn't be hurt were smashed by a sword. The host had a hellish expression on his face. No, it's unbelievable. One blow from the Taoist contestant actually shattered the magic crystal, this. He couldn't find words to describe his mood at the moment. He even wondered if the magic crystal had malfunctioned after hundreds of tests in a row, or if there was a problem with the defensive magic on the crystal, so that broken so easily. However, real masters don't have this idea. Pluto Mardo's cold sweat suddenly flowed down, and he secretly said in his heart, "This person is stronger than the last time we met." At that time, I could block his flying sword, and the lethality of one blow was only similar. When it was about 20,000 points, it has now exceeded 100,000 points. Of course, there is also a possibility that the other party did not use all his strength at that time. However, no matter which one it is, the terror of the Taoist Venerable is vividly displayed on this sword. Who else in the world can stop this sword? Hades really couldn't think of how to dodge that kind of attack, that is, with a flash of golden light. The flying sword had already cut through the sky, and the speed was so fast that the human eye could never keep up. If Dao Zun knew what this person was thinking, he would definitely sneer, and his eyes still wanted to keep up with the speed of Phagian, so what would he do with spiritual consciousness? It is not in a power system itself, and the disparity between the two is difficult to measure. At this moment, the golden light swept across the sky, and the flying sword returned to Dao Zun's hands with a whistle. Ordinary magic weapons are really fragile. He looked at the flying sword in his hand and shook his head wordlessly. With a bang, the flying sword shattered and turned into powder. This is just an ordinary magic weapon. It is made of steel mixed with magic crystal. The previous golden divine light blessing has far exceeded its limit. After one blow, it is directly scrapped. If there is a chance to find a similar world in the future, you will have to get a handy weapon. Thinking like this, Dao Zun's thoughts moved, and the golden light from his body suddenly disappeared. In a blink of an eye, all the breaths were restrained and never revealed again. At the same time, the fragrance emanating from the Dao body also quickly dissipated. It seemed that the previous scene was an illusory dream. At this time, everyone returned to their senses and stared blankly at the numbers on the wreckage of the magic crystal. No, that's not a number, that's 5 question marks. After a glance, Dao Zun turned and left. At this time, the adjudicator opened his mouth, not knowing how to judge the result. 90. 999999999999999999999999999x 1000 inches ________________________________________________________________________________________________________________. Seeing the other party's gaze, the corner of the host's eyes couldn't help twitching, asking me who should I ask. The magic crystal, which is generally used to detect the magic level, has a limit of 9,999. This time, considering that the magician from the whole continent will be invited to perform martial arts, a stronger instrument was specially made. As a result, even 99,999 were blown up, which is a rare occurrence in 1,000 years. You must know that a magic power level of more than 5,000 is roughly equivalent to the 10th level of the Holy Ten. With a destructive power of more than 100,000, is the Abyss Great Wizard. Suddenly, the host remembered something, and immediately looked at the guest seat. The final result of the Taoist contestant is too unbelievable. How should we define this? I also asked the 3 guests to make up their minds. Hearing this, Mua closed the small mouth that she opened because of surprise. After hesitating for a moment, she said, "The instrument is definitely fine. The destructive power of more than 100,000 is too amazing, and I can't judge it." The host looked at the president of the council. Hyperion shook his head. "I don't understand either, but if this sword comes to kill me, I'm afraid I won't be able to escape." Not only can't escape, it is estimated that he can't even react. Finally, the 3 of them looked at the World Master together. Here, the World Master is the strongest, the most mysterious, and the most discerning. World Lord, the host said with a wry smile, "What do you think?" "The grade is valid." The Lord of Elements said calmly, "Miss Irene, it seems that your number 1 is gone." With his decision, the host immediately said, "Congratulations to player number 321, 4. Speaking of this, he couldn't help but paused, and finally said with a scalp, "Ranked first with 100,000 points. Congratulations to Dao Zun. This list is to be officially announced to the outside world, and the result of the first place cannot be. So I can only write a 100,000. As for the true destructive power of that sword, no one knows except Dao Zun himself. It is certain that it has broken 100,000 points. As for whether it is 110,000 or 120,000, it is meaningless. Anyway, it's a breathless number." There was a commotion in the audience. "Dao Zun, who is this person? Isn't that magic, or rather, the pinnacle of magic? So we can't feel the breath of magic." No matter what kind, when this news spreads across the continent, the entire magic world will cause a sensation. In the midst of the noise, the host spoke aloud. "The test of the last contestant has ended, and the final top 100 list has been settled. Congratulations to the 100 contestants on the list, you have successfully advanced to the 3rd round. The 3rd round of the competition will be held at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. All contestants, please bring your number plate and arrive half an hour earlier, otherwise it will be regarded as a waiver. Finally, I would like to thank all the viewers who paid attention to this year's great demon fighting performance, whether it's friends on the scene or friends who watched the broadcast. Thank you very much for your support. Finally, I would like to thank His Majesty the King of Fury Kingdom for hosting the first day of the first Great Demon Fighting Individual Martial Arts Competition, which has officially ended. I am the host Peak, and I hope we can meet again." After some speeches, the first day of the game officially ended. After that, the list of the top 100 quickly spread throughout Ishgar at the speed of the wind. The 100 names on this list, whether true or not, will be known to everyone, at least from today onwards. 23 mages who have exceeded 10,000. And the top of the list is a terrifying figure as high as 100,000 points. Dao Zun. On this day, countless people are chanting this unique name. This person, who is it? Chapter 0696_Respect to the President. The second round of the Great Demon Fighting and Martial Arts is over, and the list of the top 100 individual competitions is released. Along with this list, 100 names spread throughout the entire Ishgar magic world. Some are unfamiliar and some are familiar. There are the older generation of the top 10 magicians, there are also the new generation of S-level magicians, and there are even more mysterious contestants who hide their personal information. But no matter who it is, under the magic level of 100,000, at the top of the list, it is eclipsed. This appalling level evaluation caused a 10th level hurricane in the magic world. Everyone is frantically searching for information about Dao Zun. However, within a day, the result is nothing. That is the person who suddenly appeared, and there is no document record at all in the past. However, this did not prevent the mages from being very interested in him. Ishgar, the stronghold of a certain empire's knights. In the room, more than a dozen knights in armor all looked at the image ahead. It was a body of nostalgia, and it was also a knight's attire. Respected God Knight, what do you know about Dao Zun? Someone asked. The missing body snorted softly. Don't waste your time, I'm at the scene of the great demon fighting and martial arts. That person is not something we can provoke. The entire knights of the empire are tied together, and he is not the enemy of that person with one sword. It's too exaggerated. Another person shook his head. We were not at the scene, so we don't know the specific situation, but you are now the 9th of the top 10 magic guides, and even you are not that person's opponent. Are you a pig? God Knight gave him a disdainful look. Do you know what 100,000 points mean? To describe the super magic I have mastered, in the state of full magic power, at most the level is equivalent to 20,000 points. Do you think 100,000 points need me to tell you? Quote. After a pause, he added, also, the 10 holy tenets are only judged by the council based on other people's popularity, strength, faction, and past contributions to the magic world. In the rank of scholar, the strong are like clouds, and you have seen the top 100 list. There are 23 people who have more than 10,000 points. I don't think any of them will be weaker than me. Quote. Hearing this, more than a dozen knights looked at each other. They were not sorcerers. To be precise, they were magic users who practiced the way of knighthood. Similarly, there are witches, warlocks, treasure hunters, mercenaries, etc. Although they also use magic, they do not join the mage guild. Therefore, in the great demon fighting and martial arts, they have no part in it at all. It's a pity, such a strong person. I still want to invite him to join the knights. With the strength of the empire, we can give very favorable conditions. Forget it, since the top spot doesn't work, consider the rest of the top 10. The top 10 on the list are all extremely scary. First, Dao Zun, 100,000. Second, Aaron, 36,390, 56,390. Third, the Lich King, 35,000. Fourth, the Gods, 33,300. The fifth, Pluto, 25,900. Is greater than or equal to sixth, Kana, 25,800. After the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all are 24,444. Xian Daozhen did not have the courage to invite him for the time being, but the rest might be interested in joining the Imperial Knights. Similar conversations, after the list was released, were constantly mentioned, including mainland empires, black magic sects, and mercenary organizations. At first, people and forces who were not very concerned about the great demon fighting and martial arts, now all pay attention to the great demon fighting and martial arts. Great demon fighting martial arts, the first day, evening. Outside the capital, on a certain high mountain, there is a huge boulder where flowers bloom all over the cliff. Dao Zun sat cross-legged on the boulder and closed his eyes to practice. At the beginning, along with the illusory body of Dao Zun, there was also a huge cultivation system and knowledge. Qin Yang has been absorbing it all this time. The golden light magic spell is progressing rapidly. The original golden light magic spell is full of shots, that is, more than 20,000 points, at most 30,000 points. Now the golden light magic spell has reached 100,000 points. Above. This is the result of a month of practice. He cultivates the power he has mastered very quickly. However, the cultivation of the golden light divine mantra has reached a certain level, and it will be difficult to handle it. Compared with this, the Wuji Dao body is the interesting point. Unfortunately, this world is incompatible with Wuji Dao. There is no Dao in this world. It can only be said that it is a law. Although it is similar, there is no way to cultivate it. This phantom body is only 1 star. If you want to reach 2 stars, you must either absorb hundreds of mysterious runes, or you can cultivate yourself to break through the star. Forget it, don't worry, just study what you remember. Ability. Thinking so, Dao Zun suddenly opened his eyes. Get out. He drank softly, and immediately, the divine mind swept away. I saw not far away, in the shadow of a flower and grass, a figure quickly appeared. I have no ill will. Hyperion raised his hand and said helplessly, as expected of the number 1 person who can hit 100,000 points in one blow, he found me instantly. He had just arrived, and the other party found him a few hundred meters away. Dao Zun was too lazy to pay attention to this person, and he could also guess 7 or 8 points as to why the other party was looking for him. Then can you listen to me? Hyperion said seriously. Although I don't know where you are from, I still want to pay attention to you. Behind the big magic fight and martial arts, there are behind the scenes, they are driving all this, with ulterior motives. You today behavior, certainly caught their attention. Quote. Go away. Dao Zun frowned and said coldly. You may not believe it, but you must be careful. I am Hyperion, the president of the Holy Ten Council, the mastermind who hides in the dark. I am an extremely terrifying organization and the biggest enemy of the entire light magic world. I want to invite you. Quote. Whoosh. With a flash of golden light, Venerable Dao's body gushed with golden light, turning it into a training exercise, traveling a distance of several hundred meters at once, directly knocking Shu Borian into the air. Noisy. Before the deity has the intention to kill, you are limited to disappear within 3 breaths. Hearing this, Hyperion's face was ugly, not only annoyed by the other party's attitude, but also surprised by the strength of Jin Guang. That kind of power is definitely not magic. Disturbed today. He left the sentence and turned to leave. Hyperion wanted Dao Zun to join the council and fight against the dream, so naturally he couldn't be too hasty. However, if he knew the truth, he would definitely slap himself. As soon as the people left, Dao Zun closed his eyes again and continued to practice. Great demon fighting and martial arts, competition venues, underground spaces. Mira walked slowly into the secret room, and the magic lights on both sides lit up. I wonder how much magic power has been collected now. After she stepped into the secret room, she walked towards the central eclipse gate. However, after getting close, she was suddenly shocked. There was a man standing there, dressed in a long snow-white suit. If she hadn't been able to see it clearly after getting closer, she would not have sensed the other's existence at all. It was as if the other party was not in the same world as her. You're here. Suddenly, the man in white turned around. Seeing this person's face, Mira suddenly widened her eyes. You are Emperor Qin. Sir. Qin Yang glanced at her. Kanbaniang, you are now a member of the dream, show some respect to the president. Chapter 0697-Jeff Your Majesty. Have some respect for my president. Hearing this, Mira quickly returned to her normal state, and immediately smiled and said, Lord Qin Emperor. But why do you want to be called an lord? Wouldn't it be better to be called the president? Master. Qinyang raised his eyebrows and said playfully, "In our place, mater, it means more, master, than the president. If you want, you can call it what you want. Master." Mila was stunned, then tilted her head and thought for a moment before saying, "Compared to the title of adult, the master is actually a bit better." "Why?" "Sir, it is the person who calls and the person who is called. There is a clear relationship between the superior and the subordinate, although the master has a similar feeling. But the master is easier to get close to." Mira seemed very interested in talking, "So, I'd better be called master." "Bullshit." Qinyang was speechless, waved his hand, and said, "However, it's up to you." Seeing this, Mira suddenly chuckled and said, "Master, why are you here all of a sudden?" "Great demon fighting martial arts, it's going very smoothly." "Because, it's almost. The magic power filling of the eclipse gate has reached 2/5. The third round is over, and it can be roughly completed." Qinyang said, "You know, what conditions does the eclipse gate need to connect to the future and the future?" "Any other questions?" Mira asked suspiciously. "People from Gate of Opening are needed, and those from Gate of Opening must be celestial wizards." "So that's the case, no wonder Lucy." It wasn't just her. Her mother, Layla Hatfilia, opened the eclipse gate and paid the price with her life. Hearing this, Myra's expression tightened. Seeing to see her thoughts, Qinyang chuckled and said, "Are you afraid that Lucy will also die?" "Don't worry, she will be fine. However, the Gate of Opening is not a problem." "What's the problem then?" "It's a solar eclipse." Qinyang raised his head, his eyes seemed to penetrate the earth and saw the moon in the sky. "I will wait to open the door of the solar eclipse. The ultimate goal is to connect the Wanlong of that era with China Unicom 400 years ago. Released to this era. And if you want to link 400 years ago, you need to Gate of Opening on the day of the solar eclipse. But the most recent solar eclipse is 7 years later." "Wait, Wanlong." Mila was shocked, her eyes widened. "Master, you said that all of a sudden, I can't react. However, if a solar eclipse is needed, that is to say, it can only be placed at the Gate of Opening 7 years later." "Who said that?" In this regard, Qinyang grinned Isho. "If there is no solar eclipse, why don't I create a solar eclipse? The so-called solar eclipse is just a celestial phenomenon where the moon is blocked between the sun and the planet under our feet, not the sun disappears. It's very simple so come here." "Sean, is this easy?" Gee. Mira suspects that she heard it wrong. Artificial solar eclipse, can it really be done? Even Jeff, who is famous in history, could never do such a thing. That is in the universe, creating a moon and placing it between the sun and the planet, is that something that can be done by manpower? 12 midnight. In the outskirts of the capital, in the depths of a mountain forest. A black-haired teenager who looked to be in his early 20s was staggering on foot. The teenager has gray eyes, and is dressed in black with a long white cloth draped around his body. He supported the tree trunk and walked laboriously in the mountains and forests, and the direction he went was the capital. "Natsu found you," the boy murmured softly. "I feel your breath." As soon as he finished speaking, an old man suddenly appeared in front of him. The old man leaned on his wand, and immediately knelt down on one knee after he appeared. "Your Majesty, I found you." "You are Ogast." The boy was startled. "Yes, I sensed a trace of your breath, so I searched for it, and I saw your Majesty know, the great abyss wizard, black wizard, Jeff." The old man lowered his head and his tone was low. "King's capital. The top of a tower." Irene sat on the highest point, with her shuang legs hanging in the air, her wand flat on her thigh, admiring the bustling city night. "What a beautiful, peaceful, prosperous, flowery city of flowers, Crocus. Missing," she said with emotion. "The wind in the high places at night is really cool." Saying so, Shivivi looked sideways, looking behind her from the corner of her eyes. At the top of the tower, I don't know when, a girl with long hair in red color appeared. Elsa stood on the tower with an expression on her face, staring at Irene. Really like. Irene showed a smile. Elsa, you have grown into an excellent girl, my mother is very pleased. Hearing this, Urza's body trembled. After a while, her voice trembled slightly. As that's so during the day, the moment I saw you, I felt something was wrong, you looked so much like me, and after hearing your name, I already had a hunch. Not long ago, someone told me my name, is Urza Bersarion. Bersalion, is the name of the kingdom's sage dragon. Irene explained, I was the queen of Dragonov Kingdom 400 years ago. 400 years. Urza was in a trance for a while. How long did she live? The mother who suddenly appeared. Shaking her head, Elsa expelled the extra thoughts out of her head. Her eyes were sharp, and she suddenly twitched the blade and gritted her teeth. Eileen Bersalion, I didn't admit that you were my mother, and I came here to ask you why did you leave me? This tone is very tough, in line with the style of the fairy queen, but behind this toughness, there are endless grievances. Irene stared at Urza for a long time before she said, I was going to kill you, but your smile infected me, so I abandoned you, fearing that one day, I would not be able to control myself. As she spoke, she stood up and turned to look directly at Urza. Elsa, you've grown up and you've got a life of your own. It's better for you to live in your own world than to pursue the phantom of my failed mother. Don't get involved with me. Goodbye, Luca. Between the words, her body was rippling like a wave, and it gradually disappeared into a phantom. 5.8. Urza stood there dumbfounded, opened her mouth, but couldn't say a word. At the same time, at the main entrance of the capital, Irene's figure appeared. She sighed, a little helpless. Don't want your daughter anymore. Suddenly, the voice of the shadow demon came. Afterwards, the shadow was misty, condensing the figure. Dream messenger, Irene frowned, when did you follow me? From the beginning, the touching mother-daughter reunion, I haven't understood Feng Qing enough to disturb it. Shadow demon laughed twice and said, however, I came to see you because I have something to say. It's a coincidence, I also want to meet the leader of your organization. Irene said, since you came to the door, then you can talk first. Well, gate of opening put it straight to the point. Shadow demon considered the words and phrases before saying, do you want to go back to 400 years ago? Chapter 0698 _ a mission to travel 400 years ago. Do you want to go back 400 years? Hearing this suddenly, Irene couldn't help being stunned for a moment. What do you mean? Literally. The shadow demon old god was there, and he said in a leisurely tone, we have the ability to send people back to 400 years ago. The magic of time. Irene's heart turned sharply, thinking about the meaning of Dream's deliberate words. Send her back 400 years ago. What's the reason for doing this? She didn't struggle with the truth of what she said. With her dreamy ability, she could believe it with 7 or 8 points. Of course, if it was another person, she would have already fought with a magic spell, traveling through time and space. Are you kidding me? After a while, she asked, what's the purpose? The purpose is simple, we need you to do one thing for us. Shadow Demon chuckled and said, 400 years ago, you were the queen of a country, right? You have a lot of power, and the power you can use is enough to accomplish that. Why don't you tell me? Aaron demanded. Seeing this, the Shadow Demon said, if I remember correctly, 400 years ago, the Dragon Clan fought. One Dragon Clan fed on humans, while the other side sided with humans. The war between the two sides was the origin of the Dragon King Festival. 09. As the queen of a country, you led human beings, form an alliance with giant dragons, and fight against the evil dragon race, right? Quote. It's a pity that it turned into a dragon later. Irene shook her head, her tone low. I created dragon-slaying magic and mastered the power of the sage dragon Bersalion, but in the end, the dragon seed in my body could not be suppressed. The body has changed a little bit, so that the people are betrayed and separated. At first, it was the face, and then dragon scales appeared. Slowly, dragon scales were also born on the legs, waist, and back. Going too deep into dragon slaying magic, as the first dragon slayer wizard, Irene had a tragic ending. The human side, fearing Irene's power, imprisoned her and decided to execute her. At that time, you were already pregnant with Urza, weren't you? Shadow Demon raised his eyebrows, and my father is an admiral army of the leading country, but that man, after you started to transform into a dragon, was afraid of you, and it was also his order to put you to death. The child in the middle, your survival Yu Wang turned you into a giant dragon in the end. Quote. After that, he escaped and ascended to heaven, hid in the old forests of Moriyama, and stayed away from disputes. It was not until hundreds of years later that he met Jeff. With the help of Jeff, he changed back to human form and gave birth to Alu. Sarah. Have you ever regretted it? Of course I regret it. Irene's eyes were cold, and her tone was full of disgust. I was blind to see that kind of man. He. Shadow Demon nodded. Now, I'll give you the opportunity to go back 400 years ago, and you can change history as you wish. Even before you, 400 years ago, fell in love with that man, there was no point in killing him. Problem. Qinyang has naturally read a lot of novels. It's very common for the protagonist to take revenge when he is young. Now give Irene a little temptation, don't worry about the other party being obedient. Probably also understood the meaning of the Shadow Demon, and Irene was really moved. To say, who she hated the most in her life was her stupid self back then, and the second object of hatred was that scumbag general. Of course, even Urza was the object of her resentment before the Shadow Demon gave her the blood of the dragon and completely restored her to being human. However, now that it has recovered, her resentment towards her daughter has disappeared. Instead, she feels a little guilty, so that after meeting just now, she asked Urza not to have anything to do with her. After all, the current she, but a person from the dark magic world. However, after all, she has lived for 400 years and will not be easily led by the nose. I understand what you mean, you don't have to seduce me, just tell me what you want me to do, and I will naturally judge whether I want to agree. Moreover, I owe you a favor, as long as I do what I can, I will naturally willing to repay your kindness. Quote. I like a cheerful person like you. Shadow Demon Haha Isho said, what we want you to do is very simple. We will open a door that connects 400 years ago. You can go through the door to the world 400 years ago. After you go, you need to wreak havoc in that the dragons of the era are all brought into the door and sent to this era. The Eclipse Gate can indeed let the dragons 400 years ago come to this world, but this process is not necessarily. After all, it's just a door, and it doesn't have the function of actively looking for giant dragons and throwing giant dragons into this era. Therefore, Qinyang chose Irene. In fact, space-time fish can do this kind of thing, but after 400 years, the danger is unknown. Just in case, it is more appropriate to find an agent. So that's the case, your goal is a giant dragon. Irene raised her eyebrows. 2 questions. Say. First, after completing the task, how do I return to this era? It's simple, you just need to go through that door and you can come back, don't worry about that. Second, if I change that era, would the current world change? For example, if I save the kingdom of Dragonov from being destroyed, then, 400 years later, this country will it still exist? No. Shadow Demon answered with great certainty. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, 400 years ago, if you hadn't fallen in love with that general, you wouldn't have conceived Urza. If you stop this, will it cause the current Urza to disappear? Irene gritted her teeth, a little bit disgusted by Shadow Demon, a guy who could see through her mind at a glance. Don't worry, if you change the past, there will only be a parallel world, and this era will not have any effect. Do you know the existence of Adris? Edris. Irene's heart moved, so that's the case. Edris, another world, that world, there is fairy tale, but it is completely different from this world. People in that world cannot use magic by their own power. Just like 027, the magic particles in nature have disappeared. Does this look like a wasteland after a nuclear explosion? Of course, the nuclear explosion is just a metaphor. In the hands of the council, they do have a super magic weapon that can instantly make the magic of the whole world disappear. Chin-Yang guessed that the reason why that parallel world was born was because someone used that kind of weapon and changed history. Now, do you understand? At the end, Shadow Demon said. I understand. I did this. As for when to do it, please let me know in advance. Irene nodded, then smiled again. Then, your business is over, it's my turn to talk. I want to see your president. After meeting him, I will consider whether to join your dream. Let's talk when you finish the task. If you want to join me, each member will have an assessment before joining. This time's task will be regarded as your assessment item. Leaving a sentence, the shadow demon turned into a wisp of black smoke and dissipated as he waved his hand. Also, you told Urza not to have anything to do with you, it's already too late. From the beginning, she was the reserve member I was waiting for. Otherwise, who do you think told her that her name is Bersarion? He, you don't have to resist so much, your daughter's talent is much better than yours. Puff. The figure disappeared. Irene's smile suddenly froze. Now, after she is restored to being a human being, the only thing she cares about is Urza. Chapter 0699 _ The Elemental World of the Elemental Lord. The only thing Eren cares about most now is Urza. Although in the past, she abandoned Urza, but after all, she gave birth to a child after being conceived for hundreds of years. Now that she has regained her human body, she naturally does not want to hurt Urza. Now, listening to the shadow demon's tone, it seemed that she was staring at Urza early in the morning, which gave her a headache. Hopefully it doesn't become a hassle. Irene thought to herself, thinking about how to make Dream give up Urza. After all, a mysterious and dangerous organization like Dream is not a good thing for Urza. The next day, 8 in the morning. Great demon fighting and martial arts. On the second day, the third round of the individual competition was on the scene. Compared with yesterday, there are more people present today. The entire venue is enough to accommodate 100,000 people, but it has already filled up early. The atmosphere was very lively, and yesterday's game was played on the big screen. When the time reached exactly 8 o'clock, the host finally appeared on the big screen. Everyone, good morning. Friends of Fury, as well as friends from abroad who have come from thousands of miles away, welcome to watch the third round of the Great Demon Fighting Individual Competition. I'm the host, Peak. We meet again. Yes, that's right, today's host is still me. Peak wears a suit and leather shoes, with a red bow tied in front of the collar, in a gentleman's attire. After the fierce battles in the first 2 rounds, now, of the more than 32,000 contestants who have signed up for the individual competition, only 100 are left. Each of them is a powerful wizard, and every contestant is a 1 in 100 elites. And today, in the third round, the top 32 will be decided. Quote. Having said this, the host Vivi paused before saying, first of all, let me introduce the guests. The guests are still the 3 people from yesterday, Mira, Hyperion, and the Lord of Elements. Welcome to the 3 guests. Regarding the specific rules of the third round today, please explain to Miss Mira. Hearing this, Mila said to the loudspeaker in front of her, hello everyone, I'm Mila. The rules for the third round of the individual competition are very simple, similar to yesterday's magic rating. They are all ranked system, the top 32 contestants can advance. Quote. Huo then how exactly do you test? The host asked curiously, is it still like yesterday, testing the magic crystal? No, that is over. The content of today's game will be more complicated, and the test is actual combat. Mira Vivi Isho said, also, the stage of the competition is not this world, but a more mysterious place. This time, everyone's curiosity was piqued. Not this world. Could it be that it was the first round of dreams? The host hurriedly interjected. No dream is a dream after all. Even if it is real, it cannot accurately reflect the strength of each player. The world this time is the real world. If you die accidentally, you will really die. Mira said seriously, so, every player should not be reluctant. If there is a life crisis, they should immediately shout to quit, then they will be out of that world. As for the specific situation, please introduce W. Quote. Immediately, everyone's eyes turned towards the World Master. I saw the Lord of Elements get up from his seat, take a step, and the figure has appeared in the center of the dual platform in an instant. He didn't use a loudspeaker, but his voice easily spread throughout the venue. Even in a noisy environment, his words could not be covered up. I'm the world leader, the third round of the individual competition judge. The Master of Elements spoke lightly, looked at the 100 people below the dual platform, and said, you must be curious, why am I called the World Master? The reason is very simple. I am the master of one world, the control of the element world. For example, the Dream Lord controls the dream, and I control the element world. And you, the stage for the competition, is in the element world. As soon as these words came out, the people on the scene were shocked. Unexpectedly, the World Master actually controls a world. Irene's eyes lit up. I actually mastered a world. Is the Abyss Magician such a terrifying existence? Jeff doesn't have such power. Elsa, who was not far away, was equally at peace. Only listened to the Elemental Lord and then said, I will send you to the elemental world. In that world, there will be elemental life, divided into 4 types. Kill one elemental life, you can get the corresponding points. After the game is over, the top 32 in points will advance to the 3rd round. Quote. Elemental life. Everyone was shocked again. Needless to say, it must have been created by the World Master. Just like Jerf can create demons, the World Master can naturally create elemental life. The opponent turned out to be an elemental life. If it's a different attribute, it's fine. If it's the same attribute, it's over. A fire magician secretly said, if I encounter a fire element life, I can't fight at all, and the opponent is immune to fire magic. This person's name is Nandapo, Arika Kingdom, the S-class wizard of the heart of the ocean, ranked 65th in the 2nd round. Although he was called the heart of the ocean, he was a magician of fire. This time, he came to participate in the great demon fight in martial arts. He came on behalf of the guild. The rest of the guild members were also present, but they were just audience seats. At this moment, those members, under the leadership of the president, are shouting to cheer him on. Please, stop shouting. It's a shame. Nandibo's face darkened. It would be even more shameful if you were eliminated as soon as you entered the 3rd round. With this thought in mind, he couldn't help but feel a little nervous. At the same time, the Lord of Elements continued. Then, the rules have been told. Next. He raised his right hand, raised his palm to the sky, and the magic power in his palm gathered. Earth, water, fire, wind, elemental gate. The 4 color elements are intertwined in a spiral shape, converging in the palm of the Lord of Elements. I saw a hollow above the dual platform. It seemed to be an incomparably dark entrance to a black hole, distorting the space, and a powerful suction and pulling force enveloped 100 contestants. The next moment, these 100 people turned into streams of light, and were sucked into the interior by the element gate. Irene only felt that the world was changing, and her consciousness was blurred for a while. When everything became clear again, in front of the naked eye, there was a huge celestial body. It was a meteorite that went straight for more than 2,000 meters and lay quietly in front of it. This is... Irene was taken aback. I use the Star of the Gods, collapsed yesterday. So that's the case. At that time, the World Master transported this meteorite directly to the element world. Such a huge object can be transferred to the element world in an instant, which is terrifying. Shaking her head, Irene looked at her surroundings. There is a silvery earth under his feet, and the 4 directions of the earth's south, and northwest are different. To the east, a lush forest. In the south, there is a mountain. The whole mountain is burning, it is a mountain of flames. The west is the land of storms, the Gobi, full of violent wind elements. In the north, there is an endless ocean, and there seems to be mysterious life activities in the ocean. It seems that everyone has been placed in different places. Earth, water, fire, wind, 4 directions, and the focus are different. My position is closer to the east, that is, the earth element is more active. Just as I was thinking, a loud bang came suddenly. The earth shook, and Irene suddenly raised her head and looked forward. The huge meteorite shook violently, the stones shattered, and a terrifying meteorite giant was rising from the ground. Roar! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A total of 15 giants with a height of 400 or 500 meters appeared brazenly. Seeing this, Irene suddenly smiled bitterly. I don't know if it was good luck or bad luck, but as soon as I came in, I encountered such a powerful elemental life. Moreover, it was born from my meteorite. Chapter 0700 Lord of the Four Elements. The first update / the removal of the breast milk 1 cover is about to start. I am going to play Is There a Big Brother in Shanghai 23333. 15 Earth Element Life, extremely terrifying. The height of each head is 300 to 500 meters huge, and the whole body is made of meteorites. Just standing there gives people a very strong sense of oppression. And the chest of each meteorite giant is engraved with a plaque, and the number written on the plaque is LV.10 inches. Level 10. Irene murmured softly, accumulating magic power. The next moment, in front of her, an illusory basket of words appeared. Competitors kill an elemental life and get corresponding hunting points. The higher the level of elemental life, the more points will be obtained. In the element world, all elemental life, the minimum is level 1, and the highest is level 15. Below this line of text, there is a leaderboard. At present, there are only a few contestants on the leaderboard. Number 1, Hades, 28 points. Number 2, Paper Man, 17 points. Number 3, God, 16 points. Number 4, Jura, points 5. No 5, Fikey, point 1. Number 6, Cathlot, point 1. Behind, no 1, only 6 people. I just came in. In less than 3 minutes, 6 people hunted and killed the elemental life, and the first guy has 29 points. Is it difficult to meet a group of 143? Irene thought in surprise, looked up at the 15 meteorite giants, and suddenly laughed. A level 10 elemental life, 15 heads, kill all of them, there should be a lot of points, right? Saying so, her left hand turned into a claw, and a gleaming white light radiated from it. The claws of the holy dragon. As soon as the voice fell, she hurriedly walked towards the meteorite giant, and the sharp claws she swung turned into the phantom of the dragon's claws. The meteorite giant that bore the brunt was directly smashed to pieces. However, before Irene could smile, the next moment, the shattered meteorite giant, with its huge body, condensed again. Roar! The meteorite giant roared and stepped on Irene, as if to kill an ant. Humans, invade the element world of Lord, unforgivable. 15 meteorite giants worked together to completely seal all directions of Irene. There is even a higher level of wisdom. The World Master is worthy of being the great wizard of the abyss. Irene raised her eyebrows, her whole body's magic power skyrocketed, and she shouted, however, a mere level 10 is probably equivalent to a level close to the Holy 10. That is, a level of magic power of 5,000 or 6,000, which can be handled. $Pi. Within a few minutes after the opening of the element world, dozens of battles broke out, and the pictures of these battles all appeared on the big screen above the duel platform. More than 100,000 spectators watched the game attentively, all of them looking shocked. I didn't expect that there really is an elemental world. From the picture, it is a place completely composed of magic power. There are too many elemental life. President of the Gate of Hades, Hades actually encountered a level 14 elemental life, and he is now far ahead in the standings. Damn Dark Guild, why did the organizer let them participate? Every second, the standings are updated, and after 10 minutes, the number of people on the list has reached 80. The host paid attention to the changes in the list and said quickly, "The current list is very polarized. 20 minutes have passed since the start of the game, and the points of the first-tier contestants have reached more than 100 points. There are 20 such players." Quote, "The top 20 have all broken through 100 points, but the competition is extremely fierce, and the scores are very tight. The highest is Hades, with 207 points. But at this moment, a name, at lightning speed, suddenly rushed from the 50th place to the first place. Even the big screen has switched screens. I saw on the screen, a silver dragon flew into the air, roared, and annihilated 15 huge meteorite giants. It's Irene in the second round, but it's actually a dragon. Her points skyrocketed, reaching 300 points. Host was shocked. 15 level 10 meteorite giants, is each one worth 20 points? After this brief observation, everyone figured out the rules. Level 1, points are 2. Level 5, 10 points. Level 10, 20 points. Well, the highest level is 15, and the points are 30. However, the Lord of Elements suddenly spoke up and said, "Level 15 is not the same concept as the previous 14 levels. The elemental life of LV15 has another name in the element world. They are lords." Elemental lord, the host asked quickly. All the audience also cast their eyes. Yes, the Flame Lord, the Storm Lord, the Earth Lord, and the Ocean Lord are the 4 Lord level beings in the element world at present. Their strength. Vivi, Lord of Elements, paused before saying playfully, "Its strength is equivalent to the pseudo-abyss of human mages. Therefore, the points at one end are 5,000. 5,000. The whole place went crazy. Hunting and killing a lord like this, isn't the first thing a certainty. Now the people on the list are desperately trying to kill 100 heads of level 1 elemental life, but it is only 100 points, and even level 1 is equivalent to a magician with a magic level of 500. Except for the players in the first echelon, the rest of the people think it is not easy to kill." The host was stunned, and it took a long time before he recovered, and said, "If I remember correctly, the competition time is 3 hours. In this way, whoever can hunt down a lord, whose points must be the first, because level 14 the elemental life is only 28 points, and to reach 5,000, it takes almost 180 heads. Can I find 180 LV14 elemental life? It's impossible to come by." Host couldn't help shaking his head. "It seems that this third round is more complicated than I imagined. I thought it was the competition who hunted the fastest, but now it seems that who can successfully kill a lord. As a result, it is almost inevitable that the contestants will form a group, and they will be divided into many teams. The final result is bound to revolve around the 4 elemental lords." No wait. In the audience, Mevis had a solemn expression. "This is not to let people hunt and kill the lord, the strength of the lord is a pseudo-abyss. Among the contestants, no one player can do it alone, even if they are in a group and want to kill, also extremely difficult." Quote. So, Makarov also responded, "It's so sinister. The purpose of the dream is not to let people hunt elemental beings, but to prevent others from hunting, to provoke a fight between contestants. And if I guess right, after killing elemental beings, those who compete, can also get some benefits." Quote. Mevis' eyes flickered, and his tone was firm. "I noticed that the killed elemental life will have a white light flowing into the body of the hunter, which is probably pure magic power, which can enhance the strength of others. But this kind of white light, whoever hits the last blow will give it to whoever, that is to say, even if you want to form a group, you must prevent internal betrayal." Hearing this, Makarov took a deep breath. "Who designed this third round? Too cruel.